All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Hope everybody out there is having an awesome Monday. I have a tremendous show for you today. So, in just a little bit here, total Iranian victory as Trump basically waves the white flag. So he comes up with this peace deal. Apparently, it's like a deal to eventually have a deal, but apparently they say it's already signed. However, it's instantly falling apart because the Israelis are saying, how about you go kick rocks? How about we have no interest in this whatsoever? So we'll talk about that. We also have the White House UFC event was a total catastrophe. It was a disaster. There were weather delays. Trump fell asleep. He went out there and nobody cheered for him. We had rednecks fighting on the lawn of the Ellipse. We had trash everywhere. It was a catastrophe. I'm going to break that all down for you. I have a million things to show you. We also have Americans are in total revolt as Elon Musk becomes a trillionaire at the same time that medical bankruptcies are skyrocketing. I'm going to give you the reaction to many people across this country. And then later on, Joe Rogan exposed as a MAGA stooge by a guest on his show. His own guest exposes him casually without even trying. So we have all that and more. You guys know the drill, man. Everybody do me a big favor. Please subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. You can also support the show on Patreon. Remember, I only bring that up because this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. So even just giving $1 a month goes a long way. $2 a month goes a long way. $10 a month, and fuck it. We're balling over here if you give $10 a month. So shout out to all you guys for helping this show out. Thank you to everybody who tips with the thanks button on YouTube. You could also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack to get the exclusive interviews, and go sub to Corin's World. We should be live tonight. And guys, this is a special-ass episode for me and Corin. So first of all, we've been waiting our whole lives for the Knicks to win a championship. They finally won a fucking championship, man. I was tearing up. Corin was tearing up. But also, we predicted it. When we did our playoff predictions, we had the Spurs and the Knicks in the finals, and the Knicks winning. Too bad I didn't actually bet on it, because I probably would have won a decent amount of money if I actually placed a bet on it. But anyway, so we'll be talking about that. Super excited for that. So go sub to Corin's World and come hang out with us live tonight. And then also, listen, y'all, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is a one-time thing. This is a one-time thing that I'm about to tell you. So take it or leave it. Do whatever the hell you want with it. But Lilith, who does the thumbnails for this channel, she's also quite literally the day one fan of Secular Talk. I think she's quite literally our first fan. As soon as we started doing this full time, she was always there with me from day one. Okay, she also manages the community. She's very important to the show. So she reached out to me, and she said, hey, look, I made this Secular Talk Pride shirt. And, you know, she was like, you could promote it or not promote it, whatever you want to do. I just wanted to show you that I got this shirt. And so what she's planning on doing is taking some of the proceeds and sending it to the Trevor Project, which is basically anti-suicide. It's suicide prevention for LGBTQ youth, right? So some of the funds are going to go to that. Some of the funds are going to go to helping her move because she's in the midst of a move right now. And so I wanted to throw this up there for her, let you guys know this is one-time official Secular Talk merch. You know, I very rarely, if ever, do merch. It's very few and far between. So if you want to get your hands on it, here, I'll show you guys what it looks like. If you want to get your hands on it, it's in the video description box below. This will be the first and the last time that I bring it up. I don't know what the inventory is. I don't know how many there are. I don't know how long it'll last. So I'm just telling you right now, if you want Secular Talk merch, you're going to want to go ahead and buy this now. Like I said, first and last time I'll bring it up. But there you go. Link below if you're interested, and you guys can have fun with that. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump in, y'all. Let's go ahead and jump in. So I genuinely lost count. What is this, like time number 30? That we were told by Trump, we have a deal with Iran and it's the greatest deal anybody's ever seen ever of all time. And then like 7 seconds later, he's like, I don't want a deal. We don't need a deal. We never needed a deal. I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. I'm going to annihilate their entire civilization. And he's gone back, forth. It's literally impossible to try to keep up with this. He is very clearly a sundowning man with dementia. He doesn't know whether he's coming or going. Our foreign policy is a sick, disgusting joke at this point. Well, guess what, y'all? Israel attacked Iran nominally during these talks for, a memorandum of understanding, which is just a fancy way of saying we're going to have an agreement to make a deeper peace agreement within 60 days, right? So you can tell it's all very fragile. It's on baby deer legs. But Israel starts attacking Lebanon during the negotiations for this, which, of course, one of the terms of the negotiation is Israel must stop attacking Lebanon and stealing their territory. Well, guess what? Let me show you this. 30 minutes after Trump said there should be no more attacks by Israel anywhere in Lebanon, Israel bombs Tebnin, Lebanon. This is a humiliation ritual. So you can see here, Trump literally comes out and says, this morning's attack on Beirut should not have happened, particularly on a special day when we are so close to a peace deal with Iran. And he goes on from there. But like immediately after he said this, boom, they start attacking Lebanon. So yes, it does appear to be a bit of a humiliation ritual at this point. Then we get this story. Now, I would definitely take this with a grain of salt. We saw like 70 stories from when Biden was president. Biden's really pissed at Bibi. Biden's going to break up with Bibi. Biden's had just about enough there, son. And then, of course, what would happen is nothing would change, and the U.S. would keep giving money and weapons to Israel, and Israel would still keep theoretically spitting in our eye and doing whatever the fuck they want and committing genocides, and nothing ever changed. Well, now listen to this from Fox News. Allegedly, Trump called Netanyahu and told him, "What the fuck are you doing?" after the strike in Lebanon. Now, again, we'll see. Either Trump is in on this and it's a ruse, right? Like Trump low-key gave a secret green light, Israel, you do whatever the fuck you want to do, or he's actually mad. Now, if he's actually mad, let me say this as simply as possible. If Trump is actually mad, there's a very simple way he can prove it. Cutting off the money and cutting off the weapons to Israel. Saying, you defied me for the last time, this is not going to happen again, and to prove that you have to fucking listen to me, no more money, no more weapons. And if Israel gets no more money and no more weapons, they can't continue to wage these genocides and these illegal wars. It's that simple. So if Trump doesn't cut off the money and the weapons, it's a ruse. He's in on it. This is kabuki theater. It's a show. He's okay with Israel doing what they're doing, but pretending like he's not okay with it. Okay. So we also had this. Ready? Breaking. Iran Speaker of the Parliament, Ghalibaf, responds after Israel attacks Beirut, Lebanon on the same day President Trump said a peace deal was coming. He says the Israeli attacks have shown that America either lacks the will to fulfill its commitments or the ability to do so. By giving the green light to the regime, you cannot gain concessions. The game of bad cop and good cop is outdated. If you lack the will and ability to fulfill your commitments, speaking of continuing the path is not possible, Ghalibaf says. The Iran deal appears to be at risk again. So basically, look, if you're not gonna yank the leash of your fucking dog known as Israel, don't even bother talking to us anymore. We're done with this shit. Okay, then we learn Trump will soon announce that he is giving something to the Iranians in exchange for them not responding to the Israeli attack in Beirut, according to Israeli assessments. So Trump, in a last-ditch effort to try to save this preliminary deal, is like, bro, don't attack Israel back. If you don't, we'll actually give you something meaningful. We'll give you like a meaningful concession. This is interesting. All this shit is really interesting now, okay? More. Just in, Iran says it will refrain from carrying out its retaliation for today's Israeli strikes in Beirut because of a last-minute concession offered by Trump, including the preservation of Lebanon's territorial integrity, Israel's withdrawal from the Lebanese border, and the immediate lifting of the siege. Okay? So Trump goes, look, don't attack back, and we'll make sure that Israel gets the hell out of Lebanon, stops stealing their territory, stops bombing them and killing innocent people, and we will lift our siege on you, our blocking of your ports. Right? That's what Trump allegedly promised the Iranians. Breaking. So Trump comes out and says this. The deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran is now complete. Congratulations to all. I hereby fully authorize the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Keep that in mind. And simultaneously herewith authorize the immediate removal of the United States naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines. Let the oil flow. So he comes out and says this. Now, as you're going to see in a second, which shouldn't surprise any of you, Trump says, toll-free opening in the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians go, bitch, that is not what you agreed to. You did not agree to that. We are actually going to control the Strait of Hormuz. So, Iran's Fars News says that Iran and Oman will regulate maritime traffic in the waters of the Persian Gulf. That's not what Trump said, right? Iran says the U.S. has agreed to permanently hand over the Strait of Hormuz to Iran under their full sovereign authority, with Iran collecting tolls called service fees from all commercial ships after a 60-day waiver period. The opening is planned for Friday after the signing per Fars. So understand what they're saying here. Apparently, this is what happened, right? Trump says, look, I need to save face. So how about give me 60 days of opening up the strait toll-free. But then after those 60 days, y'all can start charging a toll to get through the Strait of Hormuz. So that allows it so Trump can go out there and say, toll-free, Strait of Hormuz open. What he doesn't tell you is, that's only for 60 days, bitch. With pre-war Hormuz traffic at 30,000 vessels and 7.6 billion barrels of oil per year, this could generate 10 plus billion in annual revenue for Iran and comes on top of, ready? The $300 billion in reconstruction funds directly sent to Iran. So, according to what we've learned at this point, Trump is actually agreeing to some semblance of reparations for destroying Iran. Now, by the way, look, let me just say up front, I totally fucking agree with that. They deserve every single penny because we're carpet bombing their steel plants and their girls' schools and their petrochemical facilities and their hospitals and shit like that. But here's an idea. How about you never should have done that in the fucking first place, you fat pedophile war criminal prick? Like, you spend $100 billion blowing shit up for them, then you turn around and got to give them hundreds of billions more to fix the shit that we blew up that we shouldn't have blown up. Oh, my days. They say this also directly contradicts Trump's claim of a toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz under no fees. Exactly correct. Okay, let me give you more. Iranian Mehr news agency has published the supposed 14 clauses of the Memorandum of Understanding. So again, this is an agreement to eventually have a deeper agreement, a more permanent agreement. But as part of this preliminary agreement, this is what we get. Ready? Prepare yourself. $12 billion of Iran's frozen funds to be released before negotiations begin, with another $12 billion during the 60-day final negotiation window. So right off the bat, start giving them back their own money that we stole through sanctions. Okay. Oil and petrochemical sanctions suspended, lifting sanctions, right? Full naval blockade lifted within 30 days. The U.S. commits to non-interference in Iranian affairs, withdrawal of forces from around Iran, and no new sanctions or force deployments during negotiations. Now, let me point this out real quick. So what does that mean? Does that mean, because what the Iranians mean is, shut down your motherfucking military bases that are surrounding us. We don't want your military bases threatening us anymore. That's what Iran means when they say that. What does Trump mean when he agrees to that? Does Trump mean, oh, we'll just remove the troops that we had recently put there for a potential ground invasion? Trump, I don't think means we're going to shut down all the bases. So you see how I'm saying there's irreconcilable differences here? This is what I mean. All right, more. An immediate ceasefire is required on all fronts, including Lebanon. The Strait of Hormuz reopens within 30 days under Iranian arrangements. Iran reaffirms its NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty commitment not to produce nuclear weapons. A 60-day window is set to negotiate a final deal covering nuclear issues and full sanctions removal. The U.S. and allies must also present reconstruction plans worth at least $300 billion. Again, reparations for attacking them. Iran's missile program and support for resistance groups are removed from the agenda entirely. In other words, oh my God, look at the cat. The cat is crazy, bro. Iran's missile program and support for resistance groups are removed from the agenda entirely. In other words, no, we're not going to give up our regular-ass missiles. You want us to give up nukes, that's one thing. But our regular-ass missiles? No, we need them for defense against you fucking idiots, against the axis of Epstein, against the U.S. and Israel. Obviously, we're not going to give up our missile program. But beyond that, what Trump is agreeing to here is we can continue to fund Hamas and Hezbollah. We can continue to fund our proxies in the region. Okay. No final negotiations begin until the $12 billion is released. Oil sanctions are suspended and the blockade is lifted. So getting rid of all the sanctions. A supervisory mechanism will oversee implementation with any final agreement approved by the UN Security Council. So understand something. This is not a peace agreement. This is a surrender document that Iran submitted to the U.S. and Trump theoretically agreed to. Again, I mean theoretically because we're going to talk more about it here. Okay. Breaking. Trump's new peace deal with Iran includes $340 billion payment by the United States to Iran, again, for reparations for what we did to that country. Fuck You, I Quit says, this is enough money to cover universal free college for every U.S. student for nearly a decade, by the way. You could have just not committed war crime after war crime in Iran and not bombed a bunch of schools and hospitals and factories and shit like that. But no, we did that and wasted $100 billion doing that. Now we got to turn around and spend hundreds of billions more to clean up the mess that we didn't need to fucking start in the first place. Netanyahu told Trump the IDF will not withdraw from Lebanon and that Israel does not consider itself bound by the Lebanon clause in the U.S.-Iran agreement. Oh, would you look at that? One of the things that is central to the deal. Israel's going out going, we're not going to abide by that at all, not even in the slightest, which would blow up the entire fucking deal. Israeli National Security Minister Ben-Gvir demands, we must continue destroying the houses in southern Lebanon. Look at the language here. We must continue pushing the residents away from southern Lebanon. We must continue eliminating Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. Just admitting we're trying to do to Lebanon exactly what we did to Gaza. We're trying to wipe out 90% of the buildings. We're trying to steal the whole southern part of the country up to the Litani River. Just saying the quiet part loud. And by the way, snubbing Trump directly, snubbing the U.S. government directly. If that's not clear enough, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, Israel will continue to act with every tool at its disposal to bring down this murderous regime in Iran. Smotrich just announced on record that Israel will not respect any U.S.-Iran deal and will actively work to destroy it. So now you have every top Israeli government official coming out and saying, in no uncertain terms, oh, we're not doing that. We're not going to stop bombing in Lebanon and stealing more and more of Lebanon. We're not even going to stop attacking Iran. So understand something. That means no fucking deal. That means it's bullshit. How about this? Israeli Telegram channel with 180,000 plus members is in mourning and fury. Quote, God will curse Trump. The first war in Israel's history that we lost. We have to admit the facts. Iranians taught America a lesson. Hopefully in 10 years, we won't be dependent on American idiots. Okay. Barak Ravid says, a senior U.S. official denied Iran's claim that it will get $12 billion from its frozen funds unconditionally before the 60-day negotiations start and called it spin. Quote, this is completely not true. This is a pay-for-performance deal, and no frozen funds will be released without the Iranians implementing their commitments, the U.S. official claimed. So let me pause to point out the details of this plan. It's literally just a surrender document that Trump is theoretically agreeing to, okay? But the second part is, now even like an absolute best-case scenario would be basically just getting back to the Obama nuclear agreement, the JCPOA, right? Like that would be a best-case scenario. But I don't think any of this is going to come through anyway because the Israelis are looking to completely and utterly blow it up. Pun intended. Hadi says the following. Israel will refuse to withdraw from Lebanon completely. Hezbollah will fight back. Israel will bomb Lebanon. Trump will pretend to be pissed. Iran will close the Strait of Hormuz. Back to square one. That is almost certainly what's going to happen. When you live in this, with this postmodern right-wing government, what you need to understand is reality doesn't exist. The truth doesn't exist. Objectivity and empiricism don't exist. Your word means nothing. And so you can make whatever kind of deal you want. But if you don't follow through on your commitments, which Trump and Netanyahu never do, then at the end of the day, this is functionally an unsolvable problem. Obviously, what Trump wanted to do is on June 14th, his birthday and Flag Day, right, and the day of the UFC event, he wanted to have a big, glorious, oh, we solved it and it worked out and everything's great now and we have peace and I'm the peace presidency. He wanted that to happen. And so in the process of trying to get there, he just signed the surrender document, right? And Israel's going, ain't no way in hell I'm allowing these terms, and ain't no way in hell I'm getting out of Lebanon, and ain't no way in hell I'm not going to attack Iran anymore. And then Trump is going to save face and trying to save face, and he'll go out there and say, all the terms that they say we agreed to, none of those were in the actual deal. The actual deal is very good for us and very bad for them. And we go round and round and round and round, and nothing ever fucking gets solved. Here's how you'll know it's real. The only way he can prove it's real is to cut off the money to Israel and cut off the weapons to Israel and actually publicly break with them, right? And say, yes, we are standing by these terms. But as you can see, they're already backing away from the terms. So we'll see what happens. But best case scenario here, total Iranian victory. Worst case scenario, it was all a fucking ruse and they're going to go right back to attacking instantly. But either way, I just want everybody to understand, we're already going off the cliff, bro. We're already going off the cliff because we're running out of tricks. We're blowing through the strategic petroleum reserve. And so we're at a point where gas is going to skyrocket again in price. And even if the strait were to fully open today and everything, and the deal were to go off swimmingly, even in a scenario like that, we're still cooked for a little bit because it's going to take a long time for the oil going through the Strait of Hormuz now to even get here. So for quite a while, you're going to have much higher gas prices. May even have rationing, may have work from home orders or whatnot. This is where we are. So yet again, utter, obvious catastrophe. And there's no way, 0% chance this ends well.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all, we got to talk about this UFC fight on the lawn of the White House. I mean, this thing, I don't even have the words to describe what the fuck we witnessed, bro. This thing was a catastrophe, right? Republicans went after Barack Obama for wearing a tan suit, which, by the way, objectively, he looked good as hell in that tan suit. He was freaking that shit, let's be honest, okay? But this is like desecrating the White House on motherfucking steroids and human growth hormone. Okay, I've never seen anything like this before. Never in my life skis. Let's start with this, okay? Brian Krasenstein says, what the fuck? Trump is fucking using honor guards at a UFC event on the Lincoln Memorial. No, this is not okay. Don't you dare call yourself a patriot while supporting this crap. So here, let me show you what was going on. I guess, was this the weigh-in, I guess? Yeah, my guess is this is not what the Lincoln Memorial is supposed to be used for. Yeah, this seems just a little bit disrespectful. Using the honor guards in this way seems quite disrespectful. In fact, honor guards are trained for state funerals, fallen soldier ceremonies, and dignitary protocol. That is their sacred operational mandate. Trump just deployed them as set dressing for a UFC card. You don't get to call yourself a patriot and applaud this. Okay. But then we also have this. It was either the morning before or the morning of the UFC fight, but there's this thing called Nitro Circus, I believe. And I guess it might be the case that Dana White is either a part owner or a full owner of this company also. And look at what the fuck they were doing. This is so crazy. Look at this. Just like the backdrop of these historic buildings in Washington, D.C., mixed with fucking like literal idiocracy type low IQ drivel. Like, what are we even doing here? What are we even doing here? But I'm just getting warmed up, bro, because we also have this. The White House posted the morning of, wake up, it's fight night. And it shows like mega jacked fucking Uncle Sam AI slop ass image with fireworks and flags and, you know, the cage for the cage fight. I mean, what do you even say to this? And then somebody quote tweeted it with President Camacho from the movie Idiocracy. By the way, do yourself a favor, go watch the movie Idiocracy and tell me the number of things that remind you of the current era that we're living in. But as somebody pointed out the other day, the difference is President Camacho, at the very least, was actually trying to solve problems that they had. Whereas with Trump and MAGA, there's not even, they're not even pretending to try to solve the problems. He simply does not give a fuck about anything except self-dealing and self-aggrandizement. How about this? Free monsters are helping to keep the crowd cool at White House UFC. Now, let me point out, it was fucking 90 to 95 degrees in that bitch, y'all. We're about an hour and 15 minutes from D.C., and it was swampy as a motherfucker, humid as fuck. It was very, very hot outside. Look at this.
Okay. Gotta stay cool at UFC. Monster, just free drinks here. Strawberry lemonade, sir. Wonderful, thank you.
I'm at a loss for words. First of all, one of them bitches can give you a heart attack, right? Who are we kidding? Monster Energy? That is like legal crack cocaine. You're trying to be like Hunter Biden in 2007 if you're drinking even one of those shits. You got people drinking multiple Monster Energies in 90, 95 degree heat, okay? This was at the Ellipse where they watch it on the big screen. And then I'll show you in a little bit, but a bunch of these redneck losers started fighting each other. This is what ended up happening. This is what now has become of what's supposed to be, important historic ground in Washington, D.C. Okay, then you have this UFC guy, Sean Strickland, used to be pro-MAGA, then started realizing, oh shit, Trump's actually horrible and a liar, and he's in the Epstein files, and he's warmongering everywhere. And so he tried to crash the event, I believe at the Ellipse, and immediately got swarmed by cops. Watch this.
We're gonna go right to the stage and we're gonna just fucking rally this motherfucker. Relax, no, just watch. I got you. All right, relax. Let's do that. There you guys. We fucking made it.
Allah dập cơ vậy. cannot believe that, bro.
How the fuck y'all gonna lock up the middleweight chick?
Pretty sure I didn't break them all. Like, I'm pretty sure. But I might be going to jail.
All right, he's not done though, because we also got this from him. Listen.
Come ban me that fucking pedophile.
He said, Trump banned me, that fucking pedophile. Okay. So the Weather Channel came out and said, UFC Freedom 250 is facing a chaotic weather setup on the White House South Lawn with a 60% chance of thunderstorms, heavy downpours, and wind gusts up to 34 miles per hour, threatening to delay the outdoor fights. On top of the storm risk, brutal DC humidity is driving a triple-digit heat. Triple digit. So the feels like is over 100 is what they're saying. Also, massive problem with gnats, massive problem with mosquitoes that they had to deal with. That's not me saying it. That's Dana White, the head of the UFC, who had come out and warned that in advance. So rapid response. So the White House basically angrily responds and says, this event is about celebrating America's unmatched greatness after 250 years, which apparently doesn't sit well with the friendless loser who wrote this bullshit clickbait headline. Rain or shine, we're celebrating our great country no matter what. God bless America. So we're now at the point where the Trump idiots are arguing with the weather. They're arguing with like basic forecasting, with factual descriptions. Would you look at that? Guess what? Turns out the Weather Channel was 100% correct because we did have a weather. Wait, let me point out, this is like the Eisenhower room at the White House, which they're using as like the warm-up room. I'm sure that's exactly what they had in mind when, this room was catastrophe. What are we even talking about here? How about this? Boarded my flight to DCA National Airport. Come to find out, the President of the United States has paused all flights because of the UFC fight at the White House. The air traffic controllers were not warned, nor were the airport staff or travelers. She goes on to say, the pilot says the reason given for the shutdown is that there's going to be some kind of military jet air show above the White House. Also, there was reporting from Midas Touch. You had emergency landings, basically, or like an emergency call-in from certain flights that were landing in Washington, D.C., because they had this massive laser show a couple of nights before the UFC event. And it was blinding pilots in the cockpit. They couldn't see shit because the lasers were going right at them. And they caused this massive crisis. So Trump's reaction was, I'm just going to shut down the airports. I'm just going to make sure nobody can fly and inconvenience everybody so I can do a military flyover, which, by the way, how much money did that cost, right? How much money are we spending on that? By the way, I'll show you that in a second. Aaron Rupar says, it's notable to me that the administration tried to frame tonight's UFC event as a gift to Americans. That's Trump's words, a gift to Americans. But you can't watch it unless you have a paid subscription to Paramount Plus. Guess who owns Paramount Plus? The Ellisons. The Trump mega donors, the Ellisons. This whole thing is all about the corruption and all about the self-dealing. It is insane. Okay, now here's Trump coming out for the UFC event. And take note, you would think, the crowd is going to explode and they're going to be like, yeah, Trump, we love Trump, bro. They go fucking silent, bro. I was shocked when I saw this because you couldn't rig a situation anymore to have them super support the president. And even in this scenario, him and Dana White walk out, you could hear a motherfucking pin drop. Watch. It's almost like they were louder before he came out. Then as soon as he came out, everything was quiet. Okay, here we go. If anyone sees Dana White at the fight tonight, can you ask him why he chose these paintings to be displayed on national television? Look at this in the background. This motherfucker hangs out with Trump. He's an Epstein-class insider, and the painting on the wall, the picture maybe, on the wall is seemingly a young girl getting plowed by some adult. And this is in the background of this video that he posted himself. They're weird, bro. These people, they're dark. They're weird. Okay. The back of Trump's hand is extremely discolored tonight at the UFC White House event. So here he is walking out with Dana White. By the way, I have a theory that every old white guy slowly but surely morphs into Miss Doubtfire. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. Both Donald Trump and Dana White are slowly but surely morphing into Miss Doubtfire. Actually, Dana White looks like, what's her name? She was was she American Idol? Some American Idol woman? Or The Voice or whatever? Susan Boyle. Remember Susan Boyle? Anyway, Dana White looks like Susan Boyle, and Donald Trump looks like Miss Doubtfire. But okay, look at the hand on Donald Trump. Let's zoom in a little bit. Look at that, bro. They are straight caking that makeup on. They are globbing that makeup on. I've never seen them so aggressively put pounds and pounds of makeup on to try to cover up the bruise from the injections, the IVs that he's getting on a regular basis to try to keep his dumbass alive, his morbidly obese 80-year-old body alive. Okay, then here I'll show you. This is the flyover part. Watch this.
Oh, the land of the free.
First of all, why is the dude singing wearing like a 1920s Italian mafia gangster outfit? Bro is wearing them thick-ass pinstripes. You need a Tommy gun with that outfit, son. What is this? What are we witnessing here? All right, watch.
Land of the free and the home of the brave.
How many millions of dollars did that cost? By the way, this is the same government that cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels. Making sure kids can get cured of their cancer, that costs too much. Let's not do that. That's a pain in the ass. Making sure grandma can have a meal because she's low income, nope, let's cut that. We don't need that. That's useless. That's stupid. But have a shitty fucking flyover at your dumbass Idiocracy UFC event? No problem, bro. We don't even care. Let's do it. Let's do it over and over, in fact. Okay, the Freedom 250 UFC fight at the White House features ad placement for the Saudis along with gambling and crypto companies. Oh, my word. Yeah, you can see Polymarket over here. Stake. By the way, that's not even legal in the U.S. It's not even legal in the U.S., and they're advertising it. Riyadh season. So, like, murderous dictatorships, wretched, repulsive, vile fucking gambling companies that are, like, turning a whole generation into degenerates, and Stake, which is probably the worst of the worst. Right? Like I said, illegal in this country. This thing is just an orgy of corruption, y'all. Okay, this isn't a celebration of America 250. This is corruption on full display on the White House lawn. Trump owns shares in both UFC and Paramount. UFC CEO Dana White donated $1 million to a pro-Trump super PAC. One of the event's sponsors donated $35 million to MAGA Inc. And like I said, Trump said it's a gift to Americans, but you have to pay to get Paramount Plus in order to watch it. Paramount Plus is run by Trump mega donor, the Ellisons. Jesus Christ. All right. An advertisement for Trump's crypto coin plays mid-broadcast during coverage of the White House UFC fight. You literally cannot make this shit up. So Trump's crypto coin is literally a shit coin. It's a total scam. Trump has a shit coin that he scammed his own people with. Melania has a shit coin that she scammed all the MAGA people with as well. They made a tremendous amount of money fucking with some rug pull horseshit crypto con, right? And they're promoting it during the event. You cannot make this shit up. Nothing has ever been more true than this. It actually does look like scenes out of Idiocracy. You cannot make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up. There's not a chance in the world a normal, healthy person falls asleep in a public event with extreme noise, even if one tries. Trump is dementia napping. So here we go, yet again. Seemingly every event that he's at, where he's supposed to stay awake, his ass is asleep instantly. Meanwhile, when it's 4 o'clock in the morning, he's up tweeting about Rosie O'Donnell and Bette Midler, or somebody who snubbed him in 1987. Okay? This is dementia brain. Can't sleep at night. But all you want to do is sleep during the day. At the UFC event, watch closely. Look at this. He's out, bro. He's out. Look at him. He's out. Out. Look at this. It's still going. Still 16 seconds. No sign of life. This is during the motherfucking fight. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. He can't stay awake. UFC heavyweight Josh Hokett sparked controversy after defeating Derek Lewis at the White House-hosted UFC Freedom 250 event. During his post-interview fight with Joe Rogan, Hokett said, "Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?" What? Useless is such an understatement. We need to invent a new word to describe this extreme depravity, right? Like, I don't have the vocabulary to adequately get across to you just how loathsome and putrid these fucking snakes are. Now, speaking of that, UFC fans brawl at the White House. Actually, this one is technically at the Ellipse, okay, where they were having like the watch party for it, where they're handing out free Monster Energy, that's like handing out free crack cocaine in fucking 100-degree feels like temperatures. And look at this. By the end of the night, the white trash is white trashing, y'all. Look at this.
Yo, watch out, cops, you're going to jail, bro. You fucked up.
Hey, he just attacked me. Hey.
No, stop! Get down! Get down! Get down!
I got you, bro. I got you. I saw it.
This is what Trump has unleashed in this country. Trump has made this country the absolute worst version of itself. He took all of the negative qualities and characteristics and just ramped it up. He's now turned this country into the negative stereotypes that every other country has about us. He's now made us more of that, right? And so people look down on us and people are disgusted by us. And they should be, right? They should be. This is what he unleashed. He unleashed everybody being their id. Be your id. Be the worst version of yourself. Be racist. Be bigoted. Be selfish. Be narcissistic. Don't care about anybody around you. Don't care about your impact in the world. And again, on that point, this is what it looks like in front of the Lincoln Memorial now after Trump's birthday party. Who's paying to clean this mess up? Because we know it's not the UFC, so look at what it looks like, bro.
All this fucking garbage, bro.
Look at this.
Crazy.
Jesus. Now, compare this with, you had, parties in the streets over the New York Knicks winning the championship, the NBA championship. And I saw some videos go viral of like Knicks fans helping to clean up wherever there was a mess. And here you see this. These people don't give a fuck. They couldn't care less, y'all. They could not care less. Okay, so now here's Harry Enton, CNN's data guy, and he's explaining how nobody in the country was asking for this. Nobody wanted to see this bullshit.
Let's just say this much. They do not like it. They don't like it. I like you, Omar, but Americans don't find this thing to be appropriate. Take it here. Take a look here. UFC White House fights are appropriate. Just 16%. Just 16%.
To put that in perspective for you, Trump's approval rating is still about 32% to 35%. Okay? Very low. Like, historically low. Everybody hates the guy. But only like half of those people who are pro-Trump say, yeah, it's appropriate to have a fucking UFC fight on the lawn of the White House.
Overall, and among Republicans, even among Republicans, the diehard base Republican Party with Trump through thick and thin, just 31% of Republicans. His approval rating amongst Republicans overall is, usually hovers a little bit north of 80%. So we're talking 50 points lower here. And, this overall, being 16%, what is it, like 28% of Americans, believe in telepathy? So this is even below that.
Below the number of Americans that believe in telepathy. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Pattern with the White House of voters' minds?
Yeah, I think this is the big problem here, Omar, which is, Americans just don't think that Donald Trump and this White House is in touch with them because, they put on stuff like that Americans don't really care about. Take a look here. Say the White House is out of touch with people like you. 60% overall. We're talking about 3 in 5 Americans. And look among independents. 80% of independents say that the White House is out of touch with people like them. So all of a sudden you have a White House that is potentially putting on events such as these UFC fights. And, Americans' top issue is inflation. And what's Trump's net approval rating on that? Like minus 50? And you go to yourself, okay, appropriate, no on the UFC fights. And then you put it together with what they actually care about. No wonder that the American people say 60% say the White House is out of touch with people like them and 80% of independents.
They always say when you're dealing with an authoritarian dictator, the oldest trick in the book is divide and conquer is one, of course. But then the other one is bread and circuses, right? If you give them bread and circuses, you can get away with whatever the fuck you want to get away with. Well, here's the problem. Trump is not delivering bread and circuses. He cut the bread. So no bread. Sorry. You're cutting your SNAP program, cutting Meals on Wheels, cutting Medicaid. So no bread. And in terms of the circuses, he's ramping up the circuses, but he's also self-dealing with the circus, and everybody can see it. So you're a failure as an authoritarian leader when you can't even follow the playbook properly and give people the release valves that they need in order to not revolt. It's not bread and circuses. He dropped the bread, and he's doing the circuses, but it's all self-dealing at the same time. People see through it, they know it, and they're fucking furious because they can't afford gas. They can't afford gas. They can't afford groceries. Inflation's out of control. Unemployment's out of control. People are losing their health care left and right. And this is what you're doing? And by the way, it was such an exclusive event. There was like a small number of troops who were invited, but they had to look a certain way, right? And outside of that, it was like a motherfucking VIP-ass event where, you know, tickets were like $1 million or more to go to the thing. You had Mark Zuckerberg was there. You had all these Epstein-class billionaire elites that were there. And, like, this is not for the people. Like, it was behind a fucking paywall. It is an orgy of corruption over and over.
I mean, it's a big push. Why do you think Trump loves the UFC so much?
Yeah, okay. You know, we've seen Donald Trump go to these UFC fights before, right? We see that there may be UFC fights, you know, on the White House lawn come this weekend. And, you know, it's because the UFC and MMA is a safe space. It is a safe space. It's a nice place. It's warm and lovely for the President of the United States. Party ID league among fans of MMA. Look at this. Republicans hold the lead among MMA fans. Look at that, plus 14. Versus soccer, if he goes to the World Cup, I don't think that's going to be friendly territory for the president. Look at that. Democrats hold the party ID lead there of plus 12. And we know that Donald Trump was booed at the Garden. Look at that. Democrats hold a 28-point lead on fans of the NBA.
Total NBA victory here. Okay. Then we get this. So Trump comes out. This is the day after the UFC catastrophe. And he says he's turning America's 250th birthday into a Trump rally. I'm not kidding. On July 4th at the Lincoln Memorial and Washington Monument in beautiful and safe Washington, D.C., we're going to host the most spectacular Trump rally of them all. On July 4th, America's 250th birthday, he's turning it into a partisan political fucking circus at a time when his approval rating is 32 motherfucking percent. A tribute to America starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This huge celebration will honor our country's people, spirit, strength, resolve, and triumphs with the backdrop of the Lincoln Memorial and surrounding the beautifully new reflecting pool, which now has algae, by the way. More on that in a second. More than 300 members of our strong and talented military bands, orchestras, and ceremonial units will perform patriotic melodies and American classics and my playlist. We will have none of those people that put you to sleep and constantly complain. This is a motherfucker who plays Ave Maria and shit. He's doing his playlist. He's turning this into like his own little fucking playground event. Another fucking birthday party for himself is what he's doing here. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wants this. But by the way, one of the problems is they couldn't get any actual artists who wanted to perform because they lied to them and made it seem like, oh, it's like a celebration for the country. And then it became, no, it was actually like a celebration of Trump because Trump can't help but turn everything into a celebration of himself. And so you had everybody and their mother drop out. I mean, when you're getting motherfucking Milli Vanilli and Brett Michaels to drop out in 2026, to say you are washed is an understatement because they're washed. So you're like mega washed. You're like triple washed. What the fuck are we doing here? So now he's like, I'm just going to make it a Trump rally, which we've already seen 17,000 times. Yeah, we get it. You hate immigrants. We get it. You're racist as fuck. We get it. You're a fascist. We get it. You love war even though you pretend to hate war. We get it. You're self-dealing. You're corrupt. We get it. All your enemies are terrible and bad and wrong and stupid. We understand. We don't need to see this for the fucking 28,000th time when it's supposed to be celebrating America's 250th birthday. He says, as we celebrate our country and rally into the next 250 years, this ensemble will be the largest formation of joint military music and ceremonial performances in history. And he goes on, bro, literally nobody wants this. Nobody wants this. He's ruining our 250th birthday. By the way, it's sort of a sad birthday because, like, we didn't make it, right? Like, the country already fell. It's only been 250 years and this motherfucking country already fell apart at the seams. What institutions? What checks and balances? What are we talking about here? No, he's all in, bro. He's all in. He already tried to steal the 2020 election, and we all know they're cooking up stealing the next one. So what are we even celebrating here? What is there to celebrate, in all seriousness? All right, more. This looks pretty permanent, built around the doors. So as you all know, a judge said, you better take your fucking name off the Kennedy Center. This is not legal. Trump threw his name on the Kennedy Center. And then a judge said, you better take it down. And there was a crew there to take it down. Well, Trump was so pissed off about them taking down his name from the Kennedy Center, he put up this like permanent structure to block the name of it. This is how petty this man is. This is how ridiculous this man is. He illegally throws his name on the Kennedy Center to call it the Trump Kennedy Center. Then the judge gets it back to the Kennedy Center, which is what the actual name is. And he's like, well, if it's not the Trump Kennedy Center, it won't even be the Kennedy Center. I'm just going to cover the title completely. Oh my goodness, bro. Oh my days. Algae resurfaces just days after Trump's $14 million reflecting pool renovation. Days, bro. There's already algae all up in that bitch. As right-wing Cope says, most obvious money laundering operation of all time. By the way, we know, as a matter of fact, there was another fountain in Washington, D.C. that Trump fixed. Well, guess what? we learned that the amount that he spent for that is like double or triple or quadruple what Biden was going to spend for it, because he picked a specific company which would allow them to self-deal, which would allow the mob boss in chief to get a cut of that shit. There's been reporting on this. Everything they do is a grift. Everything they do is a con. You need to understand that. At the same time, Reuters says the Trump meme coin generated about $616 million for the Trump family, robbing their own supporters with the meme scam coin and making $616 million, while buyers lost more than $700 million, according to Reuters estimates. The coin has tumbled 97% from its January 2025 peak. Now, this is before Trump just pumped it again at the UFC fight on the White House lawn. As Ben Norton says, Trump, a billionaire, did a meme coin rug pull to his own supporters, transferring $600 to $700 million of wealth from the MAGA base to his already wealthy family. Argentina's right-wing president, Javier Milei, did the same to his supporters, promoting the Libra crypto pump and dump scheme. They don't care a bit about their supporters. They see them as stupid losers, which honestly, they are if they still support these crooks. That's exactly right. Melania also did the same shit. There was a big story yesterday, don't know if you guys saw this, but Eric Trump allegedly reached out to Daniel Cormier, another UFC fighter, to ask, hey, is this shit rigged? Because if it is, give me some information. Trying to make some money, bitch. And then apparently they were trying to pretend like it wasn't real, but there's legitimate journalists saying it was real, and they saw the post from Cormier, and Eric's trying to deny it vociferously, but it's not really working. And so I don't know for sure exactly what's going on there, but it would be the least surprising thing in the world if the grifting fucking con artist scammers known as the Trump crime family are continuing to do that, even in a situation like last night, trying to get last-minute information from another UFC fighter. Oh, my days. And then finally, President Trump's investment accounts traded between $212 million and $695 million in stocks and other securities in the first 3 months of the year. An unprecedented sum for a sitting president. 3,600 stock trades in 3 months. 3,600 stock trades. This motherfucker, they are stripping this country for parts, y'all. They are straight up looting the treasury. They are insider trading like nobody's business. They are market manipulating like nobody's business. This man doesn't give a single solitary fuck about anybody but himself. About anybody but himself. This entire country is going to be a massive fucking ash heap by the time he's done with it. A smoldering ash heap. We're going to be in nuclear winter by the time he's done with it. I've never seen anything like this. This crime spree is absolutely historic, and anybody with a functioning brain can see what's going on here. But there you have it. Just destruction, utter calamity, catastrophe, this UFC event in the White House lawn. It's all a fucking grift, and it's all unleashing the worst elements of our society and elevating them up.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So Elon Musk is now officially a trillionaire, y'all. And my takeaway from that is that humanity has objectively failed miserably. I actually was naive enough to think that the first time I heard the word trillionaire, I was naive enough to think like, oh, we'll never be that stupid and that self-destructive and that crazy to allow anybody to amass that much wealth. Because obviously that gives somebody way too much power, way too much wealth, way too much control, way too much power. And like, it just can't. We won't do that. Well, not only do we allow it to happen, it fucking happened with a whimper. I didn't see much pushback at all. The media didn't talk about it in the way that they should be talking about it, that this is motherfucking egregious and should never be allowed. And here we are. So, first off, let me just say this. Do yourself a big favor, y'all. Go to YouTube, type in Elon Musk More Perfect Union, and they've done a number of phenomenal breakdowns about this guy. This ultimate fucking fraud, scam artist, ketamine-addicted Nazi prick. They have a great piece on exactly what happened to get him to this point, and that one's titled, We Uncovered a Hidden Wealth Transfer in the SpaceX IPO. You're holding the bag. So what they explain in there is the money that's in a bunch of people's retirement accounts in index funds, right? They put the money in there and you don't think anything of it, and they're supposed to do like relatively safe investments in companies that are proven, but they change the rules to allow in a completely and utterly unproven company and allow Elon Musk to, right off the bat, be included in those index funds. So regular people end up paying a ridiculous price to buy stock in SpaceX to pump up the value to make him a trillionaire effectively. So they actively changed the rules to make working class regular people hold the bag and make Elon a trillionaire. So go watch the whole thing. It's only 12 minutes long, but it explains it all in perfect detail. And you'll see how this is yet another example of the Epstein class billionaires literally rigging the system. I remember covering a year ago, More Perfect Union did a video. We went to the town Elon Musk is poisoning. And it's about how a bunch of parts of Memphis, the predominantly black and brown parts of Memphis, are being poisoned because of Grok's data center there. There's massive emissions, and people are having all sorts of health problems, and nobody cares. The state is not stepping in at all. The federal government, of course, is not stepping in at all. These people are being slowly poisoned. Elon Musk lied about the amount of emissions. They set up a bunch of generators that run 24/7. And this is what this guy does. Oftentimes, to become one of the wealthiest people in the world, in his case, the literal wealthiest person in the world, you're not the smartest, you're not the hardest working, you're the most shameless and the most exploitative, right? Like, you're basically the biggest prick, the biggest asshole, the biggest antisocial freak of anybody. And that's how you end up stepping on so many toes and hurting so many people and taking advantage of people and getting to this point. And then, like I said, if you scroll down here, we went to the town Elon Musk took hostage. There's a town in Texas that he basically took hostage and basically took over the government. We went to the town Elon Musk cut off from Social Security. People forget about the Doge shit that Elon did. People forget that you had all these cuts, bro. You had, for the first time in the history of Social Security, they actually started missing payments. That's a first. In the past, they had never missed payments. As soon as Elon Musk got his fucking autistic-ass hands on it, he destroyed it. So let's remember, the guy who is now a trillionaire is personally directly responsible for cutting pediatric cancer research. In fact, we had some literal potential cures that they cut the funding for those things. I mean, stop and think about how depraved that is. He cut the National Weather Service. Well, guess what? That reduced the number of weather balloons that are used for forecasting. And as a direct result of that, in Texas, there was a bad forecast, and there was this massive rain event, which led to a flood, which led to a bunch of little girls dying when they were camping in the woods. I'm not kidding. This is all directly because of Elon Musk. This is the guy who cut the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Well, that, of course, is basically the corporate cops. They make sure that big financial institutions can't screw you over. He destroyed that. So now if you get screwed over by a big financial institution, nothing is done to try to help you. You're just cooked, okay? They cut nuclear safety officials. He cut FEMA. They destroyed FEMA. He fired 83,000 veterans. He destroyed the Department of Education. He cut 50% of the Social Security offices, which again led to missed payments for the first time in their history. They fired 250,000 public workers overall, which led to, just absolute devastation for the administrative state and the regulatory state. They got rid of the food safety inspector, so now the food you eat is less safe. They got rid of air traffic controllers, which led to plane crashes. They cut all the scientific research and medical research, and, the USAID cuts literally have led to hundreds of thousands that are dead already because people can't get their HIV medication or their malaria medication. This is all directly because of him. Because of him. Millions of people will die. And now he's a fucking trillionaire. Okay, that's what you need to understand. The only good news about this, bro, is that among the people, certainly a bunch of people online, they're revolting. And I think if you're even a little bit educated on this issue, you know that this man is beyond fraudulent. I mean, again, More Perfect Union had a video they released 3 years ago titled How Elon Musk Got Rich, the $230 billion Myth. And the whole thing is a fraud. I mean, understand, he took $38 billion in U.S. tax money. So he was getting massive government subsidies. Then he turns around and talks about how we need small government. Like, nobody should get subsidies. Nobody should get food stamps. Nobody should get any support from the government. So small government for you, big government for him. He gets to loot the treasury. You can't even have a little meal to make sure your kid isn't hungry. This is the way that these guys think. Then never mind the fact he's had how many rockets fucking blow up? Took $38 billion from the government to make a dozen rockets blow up instantly, to fail on every front. And by the way, Don't take my word for it. Go watch. Thunderfoot has done a number of phenomenal videos on Elon Musk talking about how he's the king of fraud. He's the king of vaporware. He's the king of overpromising and underdelivering. This is a guy who lied repeatedly about there being a Tesla sports car he was going to release with incredible battery range. In order for the battery to actually work like he said it would need to be bigger than the size of the fucking car that they were theoretically going to sell. That he lied and said a Tesla truck was coming. The Tesla truck didn't come. Elon lied and said he's going to have Tesla robots by 2021. Total bullshit. Robo-taxis by 2020. Total bullshit. By 2017, fully autonomous driving. Total bullshit. The Hyperloop completely fell apart. Total bullshit. Solar roofs completely fell apart. Total bullshit. Tesla sports car Roadster that was announced in 2017. You have YouTube reviewers who, put the down payment, never fucking got the thing. He said he was going to make a snake charger in 2016, wasn't able to do it. He said he was going to put you on Mars in a decade. Here we are fucking 15, 20 years later, wasn't able to do it. So everything this man says and does is a fraud. Again, don't take my word for it. Go watch Thunderfoot's detailed videos on this. He shows you. He's a constant liar, a constant fraudster, and the fact that anybody falls for his shit anymore is astonishing. And now that man conned his way into becoming a fucking trillionaire. At the same time, you have 700,000, 800,000 Americans that are homeless. You have medical bills are the top cause of bankruptcy. You have 60% of this country living paycheck to paycheck, right? And people not able to afford basic things. Some people working 2 or 3 jobs, not making enough money to pay the bills. And you got one guy with a net worth of over $1 trillion. Completely and utterly unacceptable. So take a look at these reactions. The first trillionaire being announced before the end of child poverty is not a success story. It's a moral failure. That's completely correct. Political Punk says, Elon Musk was given tens of billions in government contracts and tax breaks and was able to take a company that lost $41 billion and somehow become a trillionaire. You will pay Social Security your whole life and they'll tell you it's an entitlement when you try to collect it. Exactly correct. If you spent $1 million every day since the birth of Jesus, it wouldn't even add up to $1 trillion, and yet somehow one person holds this much wealth while millions are in poverty. I'm sick. They changed the law so we could steal from your parents' retirement accounts to do this, by the way. That's exactly right. Go check out that More Perfect Union video to get the specifics on that. Steve Ferguson, this old right-wing idiot, says, Elon isn't stealing from me. Illegal aliens and welfare grifters are. And Evan responds, the guy who has all the money isn't taking anyone's money. The people with no money are. Yeah. I would want to get inside the mind of a right-winger for like 30 seconds just to experience how dumb they are and then get the fuck out as quick as I can. Because it is incredible to me, in the year 2026, to not realize and not acknowledge that the billionaires are the parasites. They are the moochers. They are the welfare queens. They are the liars. They are the cheaters. They are the ones who are getting the tax breaks and the subsidies as regular people get screwed. But instead of blaming them, you blame a brown-skinned immigrant who gets like the tiniest bit of government welfare, if any at all. Like, what a fucking sick joke. These people are just racist. Let's just call it what it is. They're just racist, just like Elon Musk. That's why they'll always invert it and blame the powerless in society and not the powerful. Ed Markey says, a 5% tax on Elon's net worth would fund every community health center in America for the next 26 years. I'll say it again, tax the rich. What are we even talking about, bro? The amount of good you could do with just tiny taxes on these fucking multi-billionaires, and in his case, a trillionaire. I mean, it's out of this world. Elon Musk's Grok AI violated Canada's privacy laws and at one point was generating more than 6,000 sexual deepfakes every hour, according to Canada's privacy commissioner. Bro, I think about Ashley St. Clair. Elon Musk's Grok AI was used over and over and over to create child porn of her, over and over. 6,000 sexual deepfakes every hour. What percentage of them are fucking of children? And this is the man who becomes a trillionaire? I told you, the worst people among us, the most shameless people among us, the most exploitative people among us are the ones who amass all of this power and all of this wealth. It's a system that cannot stand. We do not live in a meritocracy. Capitalism is not a meritocracy. It is closer to an anti-meritocracy. It's like the worst among us are the ones who rise to the top. And some of the hardest working, most intelligent people get left fucking behind. That's the system that we live in. By the way, this same guy, more on this in a second, but also in the fucking Epstein files, begged to come to Pedophile Island, right? And he became the world's first trillionaire. You literally can't make this stuff up. There's no better case for socialism than the world's first trillionaire being a massive loser who cosplays as his mom and baby online and lies about being good at video games in an attempt to give his life meaning. That is exactly correct. I forgot about that. He literally uses his mom's account on Twitter and defends him while he's pretending to be his mom, and like has burner accounts where he sucks himself off. This is not like evidence of some mega genius. It's evidence of like deep mental illness and insecurity, right? Like, how the fuck can you be worth $1 trillion? All you do all day is tweet. You tweet fucking white nationalist garbage nonstop. That's all you do is tweet anti-trans shit, Nazi shit. Like, I work harder than you and I'm a motherfucking YouTuber. And I ain't worth $1 trillion. What are we talking about here? Me and Crystal always talk about this. We're amazed at the fact Marco Rubio was at one of the fucking World Cup games, right? Donald Trump doing the UFC thing. Like, hey, bitch, don't you have like multiple wars to attend to? And instead of doing that, these people have more free time than we do. And again, I just run my mouth on YouTube for a living. Are you kidding me? What a sick joke. The world's first trillionaire is one of the most depraved, pathetic people I've ever seen. Barbarism Critic says, I think it's fucking insane that no one making our laws sees any potential problems with a single citizen possessing more wealth than 176 of 195 countries. Letting someone have the power to raise a mercenary army if they want to at any point in time is actually deranged. Like, you literally don't have to be a Marxist to see the obvious problems with this. I'm going insane. Point of clarification, more wealth than the GDP of 176 nation. The point stands. So yes, this is what I told you guys, and I tell you this all the time. You can either have democracy or you can have extreme wealth concentration, right? You can either have democracy or you can have billionaires. You can't have both, because when you have such extreme wealth, that leads to power, it leads to control, it leads to dominance, it leads to coercion, it leads to buying the system and rigging the system, it leads to the Epstein class, where they're literally sex trafficking children and doing whatever the fuck they want, while you have to follow the rules. You have to pay your taxes. You have to bust your ass. You barely get by, and they don't even have to do anything, and they make all the money and have all the money, right? It's passive income. A lot of their money that they make is from investing in the market and having insider information. So they sit on their ass all day, and they make a shitload of money, and you work a job or multiple jobs, and you can barely get by. Well, again, you want to talk about actual parasites? You want to talk about actual welfare queens? Let's talk about the billionaires and the trillionaire Elon Musk. I don't want to hear about immigrants. I don't want to hear about anybody at the lower end of the economic ladder who's barely getting by. Don't tell me that they're parasites when these guys literally make their money from sitting on their ass in passive income, right? They make money by having money and being insiders, being part of that club. Elon himself rigs the rules to make himself a trillionaire, and I'm supposed to be mad at a fucking immigrant who cuts the lawn? Get the fuck out of here, bro. It's so unserious. Okay, here we have an economics professor on MS Now. He comes out and says the following.
50 million in the American election. That was almost certainly enough to win Donald Trump the election. Trump's winning margin across the three swing states was only 230,000 votes. So you needed to switch 115,000 voters. If Musk's money, even if he was so inefficient, it cost $1,000 per vote switch. Musk's money won the election for Donald Trump. That's scary fact number one. We've already got an oligarch who put a billionaire in charge of our country. Let me blow you away with fact number two. This is where you need to understand the difference between $1 trillion, that's what the bloke's got, and 250 million, which is what he spent. It's not 1% of his wealth. Oh. It's not 0.1% of his wealth. Oh. It's 0.025% of his wealth. Oh. Musk bought one American election.
That is so fucking insane. That is so insane. You can't have it. You can't allow it. Every single penny over $999 million should be taxed at 100%. We'll even send you a fucking plaque in the mail that says, congratulations, you won at capitalism. But I don't want to hear a motherfucking peep out of anybody. We shouldn't even have billionaires, never mind a trillionaire. This is completely unserious. And by the way, he's just talking about buying the election in the sense that he dumped a bunch of money, $250 million, into Trump's campaign. But the fact of the matter is, and Ashley St. Clair said this, I'm not saying this, she said this, and she's Elon's baby's mother, right? She says, I got these weird-ass text messages from him, bro. And in those text messages, he's kind of flat out saying, maybe I stole this shit. Maybe I rigged this shit. How did he have the answer to what happened hours before anybody else did? By the way, that's also validated by Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan said, hours before it was called, Elon goes, it's done. It's done, Donald won. And he got up and left. That's what happened. And so we already knew. Don't take my word for it. You go watch my interview with Greg Palast. He came on Crystal Kyle and Friends, and he says Kamala actually won the election. But he bases it off of the ballot spoiling, the ballot purging, the Jim Crow tricks that were used, the fact that Republicans really put their thumb on the scale to get Trump across the finish line. He actually rejects that Elon used computers to basically steal the thing. But Ashley St. Clair was flat out saying that Elon was functionally admitting to that, right? Now, I don't know if it's true, but the fact that this is the guy who is now the world's first trillionaire, when he should be in fucking prison for his endless crimes. Endless crimes. This man flouted one of the most basic principles of what's supposed to be our democracy. This man went around Congress. Congress is supposed to, they have the power of the purse. They decide where the money is spent and then is carried out. And he got in between that and said, no, I'm overruling Congress. We're going to violate the Impoundment Control Act. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want with this money. And Trump basically said, go crazy. Go crazy. I'm going to let you hack into the Treasury, loot the Treasury, take the money, do whatever the fuck you want with it. He had a team of 22-year-old ketamine addicts with him, all hopped up on Adderall and ketamine, basically committing crime after crime on a daily basis. And now this man is the world's richest man? No, man. No, we can't have this. We can't allow this. 1 million seconds equals 11 days. 1 billion seconds equals 32 years. 1 trillion seconds equals 32,000 years. That goes to show you the difference between a millionaire, a billionaire, and a trillionaire. Our brains are not capable of truly understanding how much wealth that is, bro. We're not capable. And instead of our government immediately cracking down on this, what they're doing is getting in bed with Elon. And not only are the Republicans, but remember Hakeem Jeffries, after the last election, he went to the AI tech oligarchs hat in hand and said, look, we'll represent your interests just as well or better than Republicans, so don't forget about us. This is how fucked we are. This is how much the oligarchy is running everything. iDissent says, I am 52 years old. I have been working since I was 15 years old. I have no savings, no retirement, and will never own a home before I die. And there is now a trillionaire. Do you sense the feeling, the bubbling feeling that people genuinely want guillotines now? Do you get that? That like Trump ran on Make America Great Again. But there's going to come a time where some flaming lefty runs on Make Guillotines Great Again. And when that day comes, they're going to win with 400 electoral college votes. Because this is completely and utterly untenable. If a monkey hoarded more bananas than it could eat, while most of the other monkeys starved, scientists would study that monkey to try to figure out what the heck was wrong with it. When humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes. Travis Aker says, Elon Musk trillionaire, Jeff Bezos billionaire, public school teachers. Can anyone help me get some pencils for my students? Elon Musk rode the AI bubble to achieve trillionaire status. SpaceX is marketed as a space exploration company, but it's really a shell for Musk's second-rate xAI, which was merged into SpaceX earlier this year. 94% of SpaceX's total addressable market is AI. Musk and co. aren't planning for SpaceX to colonize Mars. They're using it to bolster the value of their AI overinvestments, which they'll inevitably cash out before the bubble burst. As I said, all a scam. Jim Stewartson points out, on August 3rd, 2015, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Reid Hoffman, and Mark Zuckerberg had a secret dinner with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who emailed a photo to himself. A decade later, they're worth trillions and effectively control the government. This meeting and everything since must have hearings, investigations, and when the Democrats get back into power, sweeping prosecutions. And then you can see here, as a reminder, almost 11 years ago, Jeffrey Epstein took this picture of the world's first trillionaire. We need a revolution against the treachery of the elites. That's right. What exactly went down in that meeting? What exactly was said? What plans were put into place? What did you guys do? Because now look at where we are. And then finally, shout out to Nathan J. Robinson and Current Affairs Magazine. Love those guys. Definitely go check them out if you haven't. He says, instead of discussing how Elon Musk is now the world's first trillionaire, we should talk about how he killed hundreds of thousands of people through his dismantling of food and medical aid to poor countries. And the article here is how Elon Musk killed hundreds of thousands of people. Former USAID global health official Nicholas Enrique explains the catastrophic human toll of DOGE cuts to the agency. So, look, I cannot say this clearly enough or simply enough. Elon Musk is a disgusting criminal, and he should be in prison. There's no way around it. There's no gray area. It's very black and white. The issue would only be, which crime should you lock him up for, right? Should you lock him up for lying about the Hyperloop or the solar roofs or the taking deposits on the fully autonomous cars that never came about, or the Tesla sports car Roadster that never came about, or saying he's going to put you on Mars in a decade when he didn't put you on Mars in a decade? Should you lock him up for the illegal cuts to pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels, where every single fucking Doge cut was illegal and we had countless Doge cuts? Should you lock him up for that? Like, the real issue in question here is, which crime do we lock him up for? Because there's so many to pick from. It's almost difficult to try to narrow it down to the most potent of the crimes. But he's a symptom of the complete and utter failure of humanity and the corruption of our government. That's where we're at. And so maybe now, with the Epstein file scandal and with Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire, maybe now you'll have people across this country wake up to the factual truth and reality that is class politics. That the actual bad guys are the billionaires, are the Epstein class, along with the warmongers and the fascists. That the problem was never black people or brown people or trans people or Muslims or any minority community. None of them were ever the problem. That's what the billionaires want you to think, to divide and conquer and get you to fight amongst yourself with the working class. No, the problem has always been these fucking disgusting criminal billionaires who should all be locked up one after the other.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So the poll numbers for Trump that keep coming out are honestly atrocious. They're some of the worst poll numbers I've ever seen. What I find amazing about Trump is that he looks like he's not even trying to fix the scenario anymore. Like he's sort of just given up on actually convincing people and persuading them and even making them think for a second that he's fighting for them and working for them and trying to find solutions to their problems. And honestly, low-key, that's kind of scary if you think about it, because it shows that he thinks, I don't have to deal with that anymore. I don't have to do that. Like, now I'm free. Now I'm free, and I can, not worry about elections because we have 17 ways of trying to rig it, both the midterms and the 2028 election, and they're actually acting like they're never going to have to answer to the voters. But when I say that the current numbers are catastrophic, boy, do I mean it. So let me start with this. NBC News, among Latinos, 64% disapprove of Trump and only 34% approve, while 77% of voters between the ages of 18 and 29 disapprove of Trump, nearly 80%, compared to just 21% who approve. Now, by the way, we covered a poll a little while ago. This is on the higher end, because I've seen numbers as low as 12%. 12% of young voters support Trump. So 21 is a high number for him. Okay, they say Republicans are still broadly sticking with Trump, with 82% approving of his job as president and 58% saying they strongly approve. But that GOP support has dropped since March, when 88% of Republicans approved of Trump's job and 63% strongly approved. So he's even losing ground among core constituencies and demographics that never abandon him under any circumstances ever. So without a motherfucking doubt, the people remaining are in a cult. But, anybody who was borderline or, on the fence here, they're donezo. It's over. It's a wrap. So for him to be dropping 6 points, 8 points among core constituent groups, that's a big deal. So what we've seen is independents fled him completely. Hispanics fled him completely. Young voters fled him completely. And remember, these are all groups that he did relatively very well with, right? Compared to other Republicans. In fact, people were marveling at the pickups with Hispanics, for example, and independents and young voters. But now, not only has it reverted to what it was before, it's actually gotten worse from what it was before. Okay, in 2018, white working class voters approved of Trump on the economy by 30 plus points. Now, they disapprove by as much as that margin in some polls. He was plus 30 with white working class voters when it came to the economy in 2018. Now remember, Democrats had a big year in 2018. They picked up a lot of seats in the 2018 midterms. And he was plus 30 with white working class voters on the economy. Now he's minus 30. Minus 30 with the same group of people going into the 2026 midterms. If this thing is remotely free or fair, they're cooked. And again, like I've always told you, too big to rig type shit is sort of what might end up happening. They might have a whole bunch of tricks up their sleeves, but It might come to naught if, for example, groups that typically would vote Republican just start voting Democrat. Not done, though. Democratic voters are highly interested in the upcoming election. Republicans, not so much. So back in March of 2018, which again, I cannot stress this enough. In March of 2018, Democrats ended up having a big midterm year, okay? 66% of Democrats were highly interested in voting in the election. Okay, 57% of Republicans were. Today, it's now 74% of Democrats are highly interested in voting in the election, and 61% are Republicans. So there is a double-digit lead, a 13 percentage point lead among Democratic voters, basically being like, I'm definitely voting. I'm definitely getting my ass to the polls. This is one of those numbers that is a really good benchmark and really indicative of what's likely to happen, right? When one side is like, no, I'm actually like, I cannot wait to get my ass to the polls to go vote. That's a big deal because it always comes down to turnout, bro. It always comes down to turnout. Okay, then we have this. The median Democrat voter is a self-described socialist who thinks the party should be more centrist. So this just goes to show you, it's like that meme, like we taught a monkey the median voter's politics and it hanged itself. In fact, I think somebody posted that underneath here. We taught this chimpanzee to understand the median voter's politics and he hanged himself. Well, apparently, it's even the median Democratic voter's politics, because look at this. Democratic voters want a more moderate party and a more socialist one. 3 results from the same May 2026 New York Times Siena poll of Democrats and potential Democratic supporters. A 47% plurality wants the party to move to the center, but only 20% say it's too far left. And 49% view socialism favorably. People just don't know labels, right? Like they genuinely and sincerely don't know labels. They don't understand labels. That's why I've always said you have to break it down into specific policies. You want to know how popular certain policies are? Ask people, do you want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour or $20 an hour? Ask people, are you in favor of universal health care that's free at the point of service, paid for by the government through your tax dollars? Ask people, do you want to raise taxes on the wealthy, right? Like, these are the things you need to ask because then you'll get a very clear answer. Yes, I support this thing. But as soon as it becomes more abstract and you say, do you like moderate policies or socialist policies? People are, I don't like, what does that even mean? So like they're saying here, 47%, a plurality of Democratic voters say the party should move to the center, right? But then you look down here and 49% of Democratic voters have a positive opinion of socialism. That's a plurality of Democratic voters. It's a massive number of Democratic voters. This isn't rocket science. In order to defeat the Republicans in 2026, what you need to do, first and foremost, is actually stand up and fight. Because the one word Democratic voters always associate with the party is weak, spineless. That's how they talk about the leaders. So stand up against MAGA, fight back, block every single thing they're doing, right? Actually, use the power that you have. You actually have to use that to try to block Republican bullshit. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is actually represent an agenda that helps working people, right? That ends the illegal wars, takes that money, gives people health care and education, gives people a roof over their head, right? Rebuilds the administrative and the regulatory state, which was destroyed by MAGA. Like, we need to be clear about who our villains are. And our villains are the billionaires and the fascists and the warmongers. Whereas the right-wing villains are trans people and immigrants. And guess what? I think people are ripe to hear the message. No, it's not trans people, it's not immigrants. Because people see, okay, well, you're doing the crackdown on trans people, you're doing the crackdown on immigrants, and guess what? People's lives are not getting better, not remotely. So maybe they're not the fucking problem, and the real problem is Elon Musk, and the real problem is Mark Zuckerberg, and the real problem is Mark Andreessen, and the real problem is fucking Israel and the military-industrial complex and the endless warmongering, right? The real problem are the fucking fascists who are building concentration camps and shoving immigrants in them. So, massive takeaways in this poll, right? Democrats have a huge, huge default lead right now, but also people don't know labels. And so the best way to run, if you're a Democrat, is anti-MAGA, anti-corruption, anti-billionaire, anti-fascist, anti-warmonger, but also pro-Medicare for all, pro-free college, pro-living wage, pro-raising taxes on the wealthy, pro-union. So you got to be very clear about what you're against and what you're for, but we're poised for a colossal year, bro. Now it's just a matter of making sure these disgusting, loathsome motherfuckers can't successfully steal it, because you and I both know, they're gonna try.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, so this right here is kind of crazy. And from my perspective here, this kind of flew under the radar, and it drives me crazy that it did. So take a look at this from Mario Nawfal. He says, a terrified Dan Bongino told Tucker Carlson that Trump shut down the Butler investigation himself. So in other words, Thomas Michael Crooks, the guy who allegedly tried to kill Trump shut down that investigation himself. He says Tucker says he accidentally obtained the Thomas Crooks social media post the FBI claimed didn't exist. Bongino looking for answers. Bongino, a friend of many years, allegedly became hysterical before finally telling him to take it up with Trump, who he said killed the Butler investigation himself. Tucker says he still has every text exchange. Quote, there's no good explanation for shutting down an investigation into your own attempted murder. This is not what we've been told it was. So now you have Tucker Carlson, who was a MAGA insider, going out there and sounding the alarm and saying very clearly, there's some fishy shit going on. Now, again, this is the Butler, Pennsylvania one. And that's the one where a lot of videos went viral on social media where it showed you have photographers being ushered into place after the shots ring out and Trump goes down and there's blood, right? The photographers are being ushered into place. Then you have the flag on a crane being lowered in the background into position. Then you have the Secret Service agents letting Trump stand up and show his head again and put his fist up and say, fight, fight, fight. Okay? You even have right-wingers, podcasters, comedians, and others who are going, nah, son. And honestly, what woke them up to this one is that the last one is sketchy as fuck too. The White House Correspondents' Dinner one. Why were they out there within like 7 seconds of the attempted shooting saying, this is why we need a ballroom, this is why we need a ballroom, this is why we need a ballroom? There's a lot of shit that doesn't add up about all these things, right? We're talking about, what, the fourth attempt on him? Why is it every time his poll numbers collapse, he's out there and something like this happens to try to garner sympathy? Why is that? Is that just lucky timing? Is that what that is? The fact of the matter is, I don't put anything by these people, and you shouldn't either. So there's Tucker now is saying, something's up here. Why would you kill the investigation into your own killer? By the way, as I've said to you guys, Donald Trump will hold a grudge forever. He still to this day goes after Rosie O'Donnell from a feud from like the late 1990s. He'll tweet about Bette Midler at 4 a.m. because he felt snubbed by her back in the day. But you never bring up Thomas Michael Crooks, right? You never bring up the one that just tried to get you at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, allegedly. You never bring up Ryan Ruth, who now, I think he's serving life in prison, I believe, or close to it. You never bring this up? Never? Ever. Not once. Doesn't occur to you. That's weird. Isn't that just, that's weird. I don't know about you guys, but if somebody tried to take my life, I think that would stick with me. And I think I'd probably bring it up whenever I'm listing grudges I have. Yeah, you know, the guy who tried to murder me, right? Like, that'd be top of the list. Not for him. Not for him. Gee, why is that? Okay. So shout out to Midas Touch. Here's Ben breaking down for us. Major red flags surface on Trump shooting as FBI responds. Here we go.
So you had the FBI attack Tom Fitton. And in this message, they said basically, don't trust Fitton. He's clickbait.
By the way, let me point out real quick. What he's referencing is it was Judicial Watch, which is a right-wing outlet that came out and said the other day, I believe we covered it on our show too, there were email exchanges between Thomas Michael Crooks and the sheriff in the area where the Trump rally was days before Thomas Michael Crooks allegedly tried to shoot Trump. You're emailing with the sheriff? What? What the fuck are we talking about here? And then Trump fired back at Fitton, the guy that's part of Judicial Watch, and he goes, you're fake news. All right, let's keep going.
Advisor for all of Donald Trump's prior cases. This is clickbait. This is a clickbait lie by Judicial Watch, the FBI says, which is now nothing more than fake news media. The unredacted documents that Judicial Watch produced are interviews of Thomas Crooks by college instructors, not cops, wherein those instructors reference to having emailed Thomas Crooks about coursework. They make no reference to contact between Thomas Crooks and any police department. Maybe if you spent more time on facts instead of clicks, you wouldn't be a laughingstock. Calling Trump's former, close friend and legal guy, Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, fake news. Now, you'll recall what Judicial Watch previously published. Newly released FBI records show a Butler County deputy exchanged emails with Thomas Crooks, the alleged assassin, who was shot and killed while he was trying to allegedly assassinate Trump before the July 13, 2024 shooting. The heavily redacted files also reference a gray remote device with an antenna recovered from Crooks after the attack. FBI says it's clickbait. As the community note to the FBI post says, the released FBI records obtained by Judicial Watch via a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Information Act request are summaries of interviews with Butler County Sheriff deputies, not college instructors, one of whom confirmed exchanging 2 emails with crooks prior to the shooting. I mean, we have it right here. I mean, here's what it says. Granted, it's also heavily redacted. And so why would you need to heavily redact all of this? Like, what is the basis of all of these redactions also? This just, even looking at this document, looks like a massive Trump regime cover-up. Just unredact all. What are you hiding behind these redactions right now in June 2026 about the July 13, 2024 incident? Explain that to me in and of itself. This should all be unredacted at this point. Now, here's what it says. On Tuesday, July 16, 2024, special agent received an email from blank, email address blank. It says, happy to help how I can. My preference is by email, so I can fit responding and during my working time. Then it goes on to say over here, beyond that, I probably had a few emails back and forth with Thomas Crooks regarding blank and regarding blank. During the blank, my interactions with Crooks were limited. All of my interactions with Crooks were unremarkable regarding interactions. And it's just all redacted. As Brianna Morello says, the person running the FBI account is unjustly attacking Tom Fitton for attempting to bring transparency to Crooks. This is what they're saying in MAGA world, by the way. This is what the right-wing people are posting. While the agency pretends to be about transparency, Fitton had to sue to get these records. These documents are heavily redacted. They did this to Miranda Devine, again, right-wing New York Post writer, Tucker Carlson, right-wing podcaster, and I, when we released Crooks' social media accounts. They're trying to discredit good work. The FBI's unwillingness to hand over these documents to Judicial Watch through FOIA has resulted in a lawsuit, and now the FBI is bitter because they thought that we would just go away and we would just support their narrative. Shameful and disgraceful. And so you have that. Now, as I said, there's a massive effort to distract from this, from the Epstein files. And so you had Tulsi Gabbard, as her last act leaving, talks about like gain of function, and all these kind of Russian conspiracies. We had to invade Ukraine because the US was supporting their biolabs. And I guess the implication and the conspiracy is that that's somehow behind like COVID, and these are bioweapons. So Russia invaded in order to stop the bioweapons. But let's be clear. I mean, there's biological research that's done in countries across the world, but the idea of like a biolab doing bioweapons to threaten the world, and so Russia had to save the day, that's what Tulsi is trying to imply right here. But this was an effort, as the information is starting to come out about Trump's dark past, about the assassination attempt, and the real information starting to come out. Tulsi Gabbard releases this as her last act. Let's play it.
After months of searching through intelligence community holdings and files, today I'm releasing new evidence of longstanding U.S. government funding of more than 120 biolabs in over 30 countries. Now, these biolabs include labs in places like Ukraine, which could be at risk of compromise due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. In fact, the intelligence community had previously warned that a U.S.-funded biolab in Ukraine likely housed dangerous pathogens.
And then you have Stephen Miller and the Department of Defense, which unlawfully calls itself the Department of War. Here's what Miller writes. The Department of War, under the Pursue Initiative, has uploaded thousands of never-before-seen formerly secret UAP records spanning decades and dozens of federal agencies. It's the third tranche of records of UFOs. This is a FD 302 record interview with a U.S. person regarding a first-hand account of an incident involving an unidentified anomalous phenomenon, a northeastern orb sighting. All right, we just release the Epstein files, please, and release the real files regarding the alleged assassination and all.
I mean, in all seriousness, could they make it any more obvious that they're trying to do a look over here, don't pay attention over here, look over here? Seriously. It could not be more obvious, both trying to distract from the Epstein files, distract from this stuff, which people keep begging for answers on, distract from the failure when it comes to the Charlie Kirk investigation. That's another one. Why is it every time there's some sort of shooting or killing or attempted killing, there's always weird shit around these right-wing figures? It's never some straightforward thing that everybody hears and everybody believes. It's always like, wait, obviously this doesn't add up. If the gun was the gun that you say, Charlie Kirk's head would have been fucking blown off. You're even lying about the type of gun that was used, right? Like, why is there always, they always end up making shit sketchy as hell. And I've never seen a clear example of, look over here.
And then you have Marjorie Taylor Greene posting, the medical examiner for Thomas Crooks is a dual American Israeli citizen, didn't do the full toxicology report, and rushed to have Crooks cremated 2 days later with bullet fragments still in him. Why won't the Trump administration release the information? And then you had Tucker Carlson doing an interview with a reporter on this very subject as well. Here, let's play this clip.
I guess another big unanswered question I have has to do with this seemingly incomplete toxicology report, which, I hesitate to mention this because I don't know the significance of this, but the person who wrote this report, the medical examiner in Pittsburgh who autopsied Crooks, released the body for cremation with fragments and still inside, insisted Zalaponi never hit him, and then doesn't test certain specimens from Crooks or didn't put him in his report. This guy is actually a dual Israeli citizen who was in Israel after October 7th, helping identify the bodies there. So, you know, again, this actually, yeah, this is in the front page of like the Pittsburgh Jewish Chronicle. And he's actually pictured, he's standing next to a guy named Chen Kugel, who is an Israeli and a source of a lot of these dubious claims about beheaded babies. Yeah, and Goldschmidt's standing right next to him. I guess he volunteered and went over there to help. And again, I'm not...
And he is a dual citizen.
He is a dual citizen. Yeah, that's correct.
And he's the medical examiner who did at best an incomplete job with the autopsy or the report anyway of Crooks.
Yeah, that's a hell of a 9 or 10 month run for his career to go from, you know, responding to October 7th to autopsying Crooks. And yeah, again, I'm not necessarily suggesting anything, but because he's such a key player, we do need to know.
And
you know,
he is not the medical examiner that victims, dead people in Butler Township, Pennsylvania would normally go to.
No, not at all. I mean, again, the excuse was that they had more advanced facilities, but then they do this kind of run-of-the-mill autopsy and toxicology.
So the fireman who was killed at Butler went to the local medical examiner, but Thomas Crooks went to this medical examiner, the dual citizen.
Well, Corey Comparatori was taken to Allegheny County as well, but they've got contradictory excuses where they say they took Corey there to avoid the press attention at the Butler office, and then Thomas was supposedly sent there for the more advanced facilities. So...
the facilities that allowed him to be cremated with the fragments still in him and didn't list the testing of his hair. Okay. That's really, really interesting. He has not spoken to you, this medical examiner?
No, he hasn't. He did testify at an open hearing where Clay Higgins pressed him. Clay Higgins, you know, say what you will about him, but I think he's been pretty good on this story. He's the only guy in government who's emphasized Aaron Zalaponi's heroics. And Higgins is trying to press Goldschmidt about, like, how could you possibly say that Zalaponi didn't hit anything? And Goldschmidt just insisted that the Secret Service was the only person who shot Crooks that day.
Why are there always weird questions around whatever is happening with these people? It's never straightforward. It's never direct. It's never something that you can explain to everybody like they're fucking 8 years old and then they can digest it and can verify it every step of the way. It's always like, hey, here's something that doesn't make sense. Here's another thing that doesn't make sense. Here's another thing that doesn't add up. Here's something else, which is going to make you go, huh. And here we are. And now you have you have the former MAGA superstars are the ones who are lining up to go, hey, let me explain to y'all how this is bullshit. You know we got a problem here. And by the way, Democrats, where are you, man? I want to hear Democrats talk about this. Because again, what you don't understand is every single Democratic voter now, our default perspective on anything and everything that comes out of the right-wing world and out of MAGA and from Trump in particular, everything is guilty until proven innocent. We assume you're lying until proven otherwise. And unfortunately, even with these sorts of scenarios, that's where everybody's at right now. Now, you might not like it. You might call them conspiracy theorists. You might say, oh, you're now mirroring the conspiracism of MAGA or whatever the fuck. But here's the difference. They actually lie about everything. We don't. So that's got to count for something, right?
Giving his last public event. And by the way, that's kind of odd. He hasn't really had a public speech since this event he did, like 2 weeks ago in Wisconsin? Remember that weird event? Remember what he said about his ear? Play this clip.
Or small business. Now, I saw it myself. You have a way of life that sometimes you're land rich and cash poor, sometimes you have lots of different conditions, but people that are on farms love being on farms. You wouldn't trade my life, you wouldn't want my life, believe me, you don't want it. Your life is much better than my life. I will tell you, your ear wasn't a little pierced over here, you didn't get pierced. You have a nice, safe...
It is very bizarre he used that phrasing, right? You didn't have your ear pierced like this. I mean, one way to describe that is, I almost got my fucking head blown off of my shoulders and my brain splattered everywhere because I almost got fucking one-shotted in the forehead and nearly died. And so he's like, I got a little ear piercing. This is one of those moments where him being a no-filter guy is sort of backfiring. Because, like, if it was as disastrous as they pretend it is, then he would have said, like, I nearly got murdered on live TV. Didn't say that.
AR-15 bullet blasted your ear. Can I see like the mark that it left? Because if you get hit in the face by an AR-15, it doesn't just leave a little nip. Okay, it hurts you. It hurts you a little bit. Here, let's play this clip.
He was a nice
once
guy.
They shot you, I was like, he's got to come in here. It's all about timing. It's all about the timing. I think timing's perfect. Do you even have a scar on your ear? You got anything on there?
I do.
Let me see. What do you got there?
Right over here.
Oh, it's a tiny little mark.
it zicked right there.
Yeah. It healed up pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not like some of the wrestlers, some of the UFC fighters.
No, you didn't get cauliflower.
No. It was sort of like a top shot.
Mm-hmm.
The point of the bullet was a little of the ass, but you see the thing's taken off a little bit. But it makes me a tougher guy. You know, the fighters.
I don't know, man. You guys tell me. Just the fact that we even have to talk about this and have to question this. You know what I'm reminded of? Remember when there was a shooting and they killed immigrants that were being detained by ICE. But on the bullets it said anti-ICE. Remember this? And Kash Patel tried to spin it like it was a terrorist attack against the ICE officers, even though the ICE officers weren't harmed and the immigrants were. And again, it said anti-ICE on the... Why is it everything coming from this regime smells like complete and utter horse shit? I don't think it's me. I think it's them.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So Pete Kegsbreath, the Secretary of War Crimes, he went on Face the Nation over the weekend, and he absolutely face-planted, desperately trying to sell the incoherent foreign policy of the Trump regime when it comes to Iran, and this did not go well. So let's start with this clip right here. Here, they talk about how the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear agreement, basically like, best case scenario for you is you get back to what we had before wasting $100 billion and bombing a bunch of little schoolgirls and destroying the global economy. I don't know, man. Seems like a failure, and this dishonest little prick is incapable of not being a lying propagandist. Let's watch.
U.S. and Israeli militaries, no doubt, did devastate the conventional military, as you are arguing there.
That's also not true. So even in the framing of the question, which is nominally adversarial, they're caving too much and pretending like when Trump says, we destroyed their military completely. No, we didn't. Not at all. In fact, they have us by the fucking nutsack. They have our nutsack in a vice grip. Even U.S. media will not acknowledge that very basic fact. You know what's so crazy, guys? And I mean this truly, sincerely. The best information you could get about what is happening in this war came directly from Iran. How about that? The most honest shit came from the Iranian government. They were the ones who were most consistently correct about everything. You've got nothing but lies from MAGA, from the regime, and from, unfortunately, many media outlets in the U.S.
But the IRGC terrorist-controlled regime, they control this country. They would be pocketing the financial benefits of being able to sell the oil if the blockade ends, as you just indicated. They didn't capitulate. They're negotiating. So how do you reassure allies who are in the region and say they still feel they are at risk? Are you keeping the force posture in place through the 60 days of negotiations and beyond?
So here's how much our media sucks. Basically, this question boils down to, they're a terrorist regime. Are you caving too much? We illegally attacked them and bombed their factories and bombed their schools and their hospitals. And you're saying we cave too much? Bitch, we should fucking surrender. We should surrender and apologize. But they're framing it like, you need to be more hawkish and aggressive. I don't know, man. I wouldn't talk to this fucking drunk frat boy rapist and say, like, hey, I know you love war crimes. Maybe you should do some more of them? Like, that's what she's doing here.
Oh, we'll make sure the military option is there. And that's the big difference between this and JCPOA and the way Obama did it. Obama, they begged Iran for a deal, and we bombed Iran and then put in a blockade and then ran ships through and then have restarted when necessary to ensure that they come to the table for a great deal. So
in other words, we're better than Obama because we did an illegal war of aggression and bombed a bunch of innocent people, and he didn't do that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would make you objectively worse than Obama. I'm pretty sure the whole point of the deal was to avoid any kind of conflict, and now you got the conflict and probably a shittier deal.
Military posture will be whatever it needs to be to ensure they're compelled over this 60 days through the memorandum of understanding that they live up to what they said they would do. The document says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, won't seek one, won't buy one, won't have one.
JCPOA said that
days,
too.
There'll be negotiations to make that final. But they didn't have the threat of military force the way that we do that Iran.
Oh no! He's literally arguing, well, we did wanton violence against innocent civilians, so our deal is better. No, your deal is worse because now nobody can take our word for anything. Our word is fucking horseshit. Also, under what the deal actually is, there's fucking reparations we pay them for the war we never should have started, right? Like, we could have just not spent $100 billion blowing them up to then pay them hundreds of billions later to make up for that. We could have just not did that. God, I hate these people so much. Oh my God, Obama was so much better than all of them. Oh my days. Remember, Obama got us peace with Cuba and he got us peace with Iran, and it was objectively proven that these things worked. Like every single expert in the country said, oh yeah, they're following the deal perfectly, and all we had to do was give them back their own money that we stole. Now, Iran got even more favorable terms, and they control the Strait of Hormuz, right? And by the way, the deal's going to fall apart anyway, but that's because it's literally a surrender document. That's what it is. And it's going to fall apart because the Israelis are intent on destroying the region and creating a greater Israel. But like, these people are not, they're not prepared for this. This is fucking amateur hour to the max. This guy's a fucking drunk frat boy idiot, and he's supposed to be making high-level military decisions? Give me a break.
In a very way that their regime is more devastated than it's ever been in its 47 years. And that's why they're at the table. So the huge difference is we did this from a position of strength. President Trump led with military might. That military might will stay as long as necessary. You know, if the blockade comes off, then you pull back and you allow shipping to flow, just like Iran needs to allow shipping to go through the straits. But we can snap that blockade back at any point, and they can't do anything about it. And Iran knows that, and that's why we have the leverage in these talks, and we hope they'll go well.
He is the lowest IQ member of the executive branch of the government ever, maybe. Like, he's actually stupid. You know, he doesn't believe in germ theory. Did you know that? I'm being serious. Like, he even said it on TV. Like, I don't believe in germs. What? What? And he's making life and death decisions. He's quite literally saying here, our deal is better because we murdered a bunch of them first. Even though the terms of your deal are objectively worse. And the deal is not going to hold, and murdering them was bad, right? And now our word is useless anyway, so we're not going to uphold our end of the bargain. We're already not upholding our end of the bargain. The Israelis are already blowing it up, and Trump's not going to hold the Israelis accountable and cut off the money and the weapons. We think we were born yesterday? Not going to happen. All right. Then he just lies here about the fact that we have a limited stockpiles now because we blew through them in this stupid war of aggression. Here we go.
Ask you before you go about what is going on with U.S. munitions and stockpiles here. Ukraine's President Zelensky was on this program a few weeks ago. He made a plea not just for more interceptors, but for the ability to produce them for friendly governments to be able to produce patriots. Some Republican lawmakers support this idea. Do you?
Nobody makes better and more munitions than the United States of America, and we are open to co-production wherever we can. And because of this administration, we're supercharging our arsenal of freedom, building more, building faster, opening up the Pentagon, ripping through the Pentagon bureaucracy to force industry to move faster. So
but there
our stockpiles
there is
are
a crisis
strong,
with
and they will
those
only get
stockpiles
stronger
right
in the future.
now. There is a crisis with the stockpiles right now in private industry.
That is a manufactured story that the media wants to peddle. And ultimately, our stockpiles are great, and they'll only get stronger because of the way this president has.
You testified under oath that it would take years to rebuild those stockpiles.
It was the Biden administration that gave away munitions to the. You don't have to read back to me what I testified. I speculated some munitions take more time than others. We've got lots of them. We're building more than ever before. The Biden administration gave away hundreds of billions to Ukraine, and so President Trump had to refill, and he has, and we have in real time.
So the answer to Zelensky's request is a no or a yes?
Ultimately, we've worked with them, and Ukraine is buying munitions that Europe pays for, and it's great to see Europe finally step up and pay for those.
Okay. Well, he was asking for the ability to produce, but I'll leave it there for today. Secretary Hegseth, thank you for joining us.
He literally was saying to Congress, like, yep, we have our stockpiles are down, and it's a little bit of a problem. And he's like, bro, we're good now. We don't even have to worry about anything, bro. We got all the missiles we need and stuff, bro. They're constitutionally incapable of telling the truth. And here I have the best example of that. Ready? Here he's going to claim, oh, we always had control of the strait.
By the way, I think your viewers need to remember, Project Freedom never stopped. And we've run 125 million barrels of oil through the straits, and Iran couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. How many ships from Iran have transited our blockade? Zero. We have controlled the straits this entire time.
Right, but you're going to negotiate with them to
immediately and gradually.
Reopen it.
We have controlled the straits the entire time. That is such a brazen lie, bro. I don't know why people bother to say things like this when it's so checkable. And like immediately you get exposed as a complete liar and a scumbag. Like everything he said there is backwards. So they did have the ability to get around our blockade of their ports. They have been getting around our blockade of their ports, okay? We haven't been getting around their blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. And one of the main reasons for that is insurance rates, right? Like none of the ships are going through because the insurance rates are skyrocketing. They're not going to take that risk. It's not going to happen. Whereas Iran, they can make decisions themselves and just, oh yeah, we'll find a way around this blockade. And they have. So Trump was saying the other day, too, in the White House, the same thing. Like, we already got all these ships. We've been getting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. We've been doing it. We've been doing it at night. We've been getting away with it. First of all, it's not true. We would have known if that was the case. Second of all, even if it was true, it's a literal drop in the fucking bucket compared to the amount that we need to get through the Strait of Hormuz. But he said we controlled the Strait of Hormuz the whole time. Could you imagine saying that in a moment like this? When gas is already expensive. By the way, even if this deal sticks, gas is still going to skyrocket because it takes a while for that oil to get here anyway, which I don't think the deal's going to stick either way, but like we're in trouble because the gas prices are going to skyrocket even more. So this looks so dumb. It's so stupid. Oh, we've had control of the Strait the whole time. Oh, really? Then what's all the hubbub about? What's all this, crashing out and making a deal and the deal falling apart and the war going on and this and that? What's all that for? If we've always had control of the Strait of Hormuz. You're such a liar. He's such a shameless liar. But thankfully, everybody sees it. But oh my God, these guys got to get out of power ASAP because I don't think we can survive 4 years of this. I really don't.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, we got to talk about how quite literally every single detractor of Graham Platner has outed themselves as a complete and utter piece of shit. Former Biden official Kate Bedingfield on Graham Platner, quote, "I think it's demoralizing that his transgressions are being overlooked." All right, so listen to what she has to say, then I'm going to give you an amazing fact about this woman.
I personally, I think it's demoralizing that his transgressions are being overlooked in this way. However, I'm not overly stunned, in part because I think that the gender breakdown on how people are reacting to what they've read about him is very telling.
He got the most votes of any Democratic candidate in Maine in the history of the United States of America. And they're trying to be, the gender numbers didn't look all that good. What are we doing here? What are we fucking doing here? Why don't you go campaign for Susan Collins?
Political problem for him. The electorate in Maine is heavily female, is older. But I will say, when I see Trump attacking him, I mean, what he's got to do is win Biden-Collins voters. He's got to pull some Biden-Collins voters from 2020 over his way, and Donald Trump continuing to attack him is one way that some of those people, may come along. So, listen, I personally don't love it, but the people of Maine, I don't live there, so they don't really care what I think. But I think I'm going to just say it, and I have said it consistently. I think it's an indictment of our party that we're willing to look the other way on this, personally.
Ready for this? Kate was a spokeswoman for John Edwards in 2008 and stayed on to the end after the Inquirer broke that he was cheating on his cancer-stricken wife with a campaign videographer, fathering her child, and as we learned, committed 6 campaign felonies to cover it up. So she was a spokeswoman for Edwards. After all of that came up, she's like, I'm still riding for him, bro. I'm still riding for him. This is objectively worse than anything they said about Graham. This is worse than anything they said about Graham. But you have nothing but harsh criticism for Graham. Make that make sense. Why is it all these people who go after Graham aggressively end up being total pieces of shit? I'm genuinely asking that question. How about this one? Quote, "Graham Platner is clearly a person with deep and disturbing psychological issues that predate his military service and continue to this day." Maine State House Minority Leader Billy Bob Falkingham told the Post. So they have this guy write this in the Post. Ready for this? This is the same guy who was arrested for throwing a bucket of human shit at someone, sunk 3 boats, nearly killed his sternman while screwing around on the water, and claimed Jesus saved him when he capsized his boat. And here's a link. Maine's new GOP House Minority Leader was once convicted of throwing poop at people. So the poop thrower would like you to know he has some moral qualms with Graham Platner. Guys, can we be serious here for a second? The reason everybody's coming after Graham Platner is because he's anti-oligarchy. He's against the Epstein class. He's against the billionaires. Okay, he wants to abolish ICE. He's against Israel. He's against the warmongers. He's against the fascists. He's actually taking bold left-wing positions that stand up to organized money and power. And that's why all these assholes and their mother are coming after him. Now, by the way, want to see something devastating here, which is genuinely sucks. Look at this. The DNC has removed Graham Platner's Senate race from online advertisements. Oh, that's nice. Look at this. So it was there. Now it's not there. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice if you actually go out there and advocate for real left-wing positions that every left-winger agrees with? The moneyed interests come after you. The corporate Democrats try to snuff you out. Isn't that great? Isn't that awesome? that we have a party actively working against the best elements of the party? Isn't that awesome? To undermine ourselves and make ourselves cucked and weak in the face of fucking fascism. Isn't that awesome? All right, but I still haven't gotten to the best part, because now, let me show you. The other day we discussed Trump came after Graham and came after him. He's a thug. He's the worst person that's ever run for office ever. He's the worst one I've ever seen, never. And Graham finally snapped and responded. Here we go.
They're Democrats. They have the worst policy of anybody. I watched that thug that's up in Maine. He's a thug. And they're trying to make excuses for him. I mean, he's worse than any human being that's ever run for office, probably. I don't know him. I don't want to say bad, but I just, look, I mean, nobody's ever had a record like that.
Wow. Got to say, being called a thug and the worst person to ever run for office by Donald Trump might be the highest compliment that I've ever received. He's also right. There might not be a lot of other people like me who've run for office. You know, people that actually served their country, fought in this nation's wars, came home, started the business, lived down here in the real world, have spent years and years being involved at the local level in the community, and then one day decided to go run for U.S. Senate. Maybe he's right about that. But for Donald Trump to come after me personally is, it might be the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me. And the reason he's doing it is that he's scared. He knows. He knows that we're coming after him. He knows that when we win this election, when we take this kind of politics down to Washington, when we retake this seat for working class Mainers, when we retake the Senate with fighting Democrats who actually want to hold Trump and his cronies and all their corruption accountable, he knows that's coming. And it's got him shaking in his boots. And he should be, because we are coming. Because we're building something here in Maine, the likes of which has not been seen before. We are really building a true broad-based working class coalition to build power the old-fashioned way, organizing people and taking it to fight for a better future, taking it to make sure that the Epstein class, that Donald Trump and all of his depraved billionaire friends who think that they can get away with disgusting acts, think that because of their money and their power and their wealth and their influence, that they're above the law, they're about to find out that they're not. And it's got them terrified, and they should be.
Listen up, y'all. Listen up. With Donald Trump going after Graham Platner, let me just say, and I speak on behalf of all of us, I don't want to fucking hear it. I don't want to hear it. You are Donald J. Trump. That's who you are. You were Jeffrey Epstein's best friend for a decade. That's not me speaking. That's not some third party speaking. That is Epstein himself on literal audio tape directly to Michael Wolff. He said, I was Trump's best friend for a decade. Trump was on his plane 8 times that we know of. He went to the island. The first time Trump and Melania had sex was allegedly on the Lolita Express, which is Epstein's pedophile plane. And he's lecturing Graham Platt, the worst person to ever run for office. Graham is the worst. He's a thug. He's a thug. He's the worst person to ever run for office. Says the guy who offered Epstein a position in his first White House. Many people don't know that. It's the truth. He offered Jeffrey Epstein a position. Why? Because he knows how much dirt Epstein has on him. So to try to shut him up, he tried to offer him a position. Because he doesn't want people learning that Trump and Epstein, himself and Epstein, shared a girlfriend. That Epstein passed off a 20-year-old to him in 1993. He doesn't want people being reminded about the creepy-ass love letter to Epstein on his birthday that Trump wrote with the drawing of the prepubescent girl. He doesn't want people reminding him of the human trafficking from the modeling agency that Trump ran. Okay? By the way, Epstein allegedly learned human trafficking tricks from Trump's teenage modeling agency. This is a guy, by the way, who's on video, or excuse me, on audio saying to Howard Stern directly, when I owned the Miss Teen USA, when I owned that, I got to walk in there when they were getting changed and I'd say, is everything okay in here? And you can get away with it because you own the place. Literally bragging about spying on naked teenage girls as a 40-something-year-old man. And this is the guy who's going to say, Graham is the worst person to ever run for office? Graham is the thug? You have got to be fucking kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Don't even get me started on the other shit that we know about Trump. Don't get me started on those FBI intake forms, by the way. Tomorrow I'm going to do a segment. Apparently, the White House was panicked and freaking out about one of the Epstein files, which involved accusing Trump of having a nipple torture kink. And they were so freaked out by it, they decided, don't put up a searchable database of everything, because if we do, that shit's going to come up. And they were freaking out, thinking, how's everybody going to react, knowing about our disgusting, pedophile, depraved, wretched, cretinous boss who does horrible things to underage girls, including torturing their fucking nipples. What are we even talking about here? What are we talking about here? I could go on all day, bro. I could go on all day. Do I need to bring up the limo driver in Dallas that says he heard Trump talking to Jeffrey Epstein about abusing girls? Do I need to bring that up? Do I need to talk about the picture that Michael Wolff said he saw, that Epstein showed him, of Trump with underage girls with a stain on his pants? Remember that? There is so much dirt. The biggest one, which nobody talks about, by the way, is that in 2011, Epstein has an email where he's talking to, I think it was Ghislaine, but it may have been somebody else, and he says, oh, Trump is at the house right now with one of the victims. As you all know, all of his houses are bugged to the high heavens. That means there's video of Trump with underage girls from 20... This is before he even ran for office. Before he even ran for office, okay? There was no, like, attempt to get him or whatever. We know, as a matter of fact, there's videos of Trump with underage girls at Epstein's properties, which means he can be blackmailed. And believe me, Mossad has that. Russia probably has that. All these intelligence agencies have that. And so our president is a blackmailed pedophile. He is a clear and present danger. That's what you need to understand. And so I don't want to hear it about Graham Platner's issues. Like, what was it? Mika Brzezinski on Morning Joe asked Graham Platner, do you really have credibility to say we should release the Epstein files given your history? And he's like, I had consensual adult affairs, which I'm not proud of, by the way, but that's a lot different than human sex trafficking, child sex trafficking done by elite billionaires. What are we talking about? Jesus Christ. So Graham absolutely nailed him, and you simply love to see it.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, did an ABC News exclusive interview here, and he was asked about Trump's illegal war against Iran. He breaks his silence here, and he calmly dismantles all of the bullshit coming from the regime. Listen to this.
You spent a lot of time wrestling with the threat of a nuclear Iran. How do you think things are being handled right now there?
It is doubtful that any agreement that arises is going to be significantly different or a significant improvement from the deal that we had in the first place and had worked for a long stretch of time before the United States pulled out of it. So,
now, by the way, take note there. That was a very subtle but clear dig. He's saying, hey, we're the ones that didn't abide by our word. We're the ones that pulled out of the deal. They're not the problem. That's what he's saying here. He's saying Iran's not the problem. We're the problem. We signed this agreement. We're supposed to abide by this agreement. They abided by it as verified by the IAEA over a dozen times. And we're the issue. We pulled out. Trump pulled out in 2018. So that's him taking a direct shot at the credibility of Trump and MAGA in the White House while correctly laying out they're not the issue here. They're not the ones to blame. We're the ones to blame. Damn. That's truth. That's truth. Let's keep going.
I'm hopeful that bombing stops and ordinary people are no longer suffering as a consequence of the war. I think in retrospect, it's a reminder that on a lot of difficult foreign policy problems, the notion that we can just bully our way or bomb our way to solutions may sometimes seem appealing, but the fact of the matter is that taking the time to explore diplomacy and exhaust the possibilities of coming up with deals that don't solve 100% of the problem, but solve 80, 90% of the problem, while avoiding the necessity of going to war. You'd think we would have learned that lesson by now, but it seems like every so often we have to relearn that lesson again.
In other words, these fucking idiots can't do anything but warmonger. Obama had to deal with that because Bush before him was doing the illegal war of aggression in Iraq. And now he's like, Trump's doing the same shit. These motherfuckers know nothing but violence. They know nothing but death and destruction. They know nothing but war. And they think that's going to solve everything. But guess what? What we're doing is learning the hard way yet again. It doesn't do that. In fact, the opposite, it ruins everything. It makes everything worse. By the way, he also sold himself short here. He goes, well, you want to take a deal that solves 80 to 90% of the problem. I mean, that's probably better than no deal at all. When the reality is, he actually solved 100% of it. Like he's selling it short. He's selling himself short there. And I'm critical of Obama when need be, right? I would have much rather done Medicare for all or a public option than Obamacare, for sure. I'll criticize him on that every day and twice on Sunday, right? But when it comes to the Iran nuclear agreement, A++. A++. The Cuba normalization, A++. There's literally nothing to criticize there. Every element of it was perfect. Every element of it nailed it. It worked. Objectively, it just worked. There was no issue with them potentially getting a nuclear weapon in any way, shape, or form. But Netanyahu and Trump and the neocons and the warmongers were against it because it worked. Do you understand that? Because Netanyahu's goal is make Iran a failed state, turn them into Libya, open slave markets, people warring in the streets, because they want to take them off the table as a regional player so they can dominate the region and create a greater Israel. That's what's going on there. That's exactly what's going on there. Let me show you this. Look at this from Maine. If you're keeping track at home, Obama, $1.7 billion in unfrozen assets and cash for 98% reduction in uranium and limit enrichment to 3.7%. Trump, $24 billion in unfrozen assets and cash, $300 billion reconstruction fund reparations for us attacking them, lifted sanctions in exchange for open strait under Iran and Oman control. Namely, they still get to tax the Strait of Hormuz, so we lose free and open maritime trade. To say what happened with Trump is worse is the understatement of the century. Trump fucked everything. Waged an illegal war against a country that didn't attack us, wasted $100 billion, killed a bunch of schoolgirls there, got 13 of our own people killed. Fucking massively unnecessary, stupid, dumb on every level, right? And what do we have to show for it? An objectively worse deal after the fact. Objectively worse. And by the way, that's also not going to hold because Israel's going to violate it, which means the U.S. also violated it, which means we're back to square one and the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed again. That's what's going to fucking happen. That's what's going to happen because Israel's not going to pull out of Lebanon. Not a chance. 0% chance. Zero. Trump's already denying that certain terms of the deal are in the deal. You can't make, with somebody who's a total postmodernist, you can't actually make a deal. He doesn't believe in truth. He doesn't believe in objectivity. He doesn't tell the truth. So like, he'll say, agree to one thing and then turn around and say, I never agreed to that. And that's what we're witnessing right now. So Obama solved this. This was not a non-issue completely. This was a non-issue. Trump got in there, ripped up the agreement, made us not good to our word anymore, like he did with the Paris Climate Agreement and many other things, and also murdered Qasem Soleimani, their top commander, who was fighting ISIS on the ground at the time. So he was acting as ISIS's air force, de facto air force for ISIS. Congratulations. Hope you're happy about that. So Obama solved it. Trump destroyed it. Everybody knows it. And you're realizing now that despite my ideological differences with Barack Obama, and I have many, I'm to his left, but there's a big difference between having an adult in charge and having a fucking petulant, idiotic little baby. Did you know that Benjamin Netanyahu tried to convince every single president in the modern era to do this exact thing that Trump did? He tried it with Bill Clinton. He tried it with Barack Obama. He tried it with George Bush. He tried it with Joe Biden. Okay, and he tried it with Donald Trump. Only one of them was stupid enough to go with Netanyahu and follow him and agree. Every other president had the intelligence to say kick rocks. Every other president had the intelligence to say, not only am I not joining you with your attack on Iran, I'm also saying you will not attack Iran. Even on your own, you're not going to fucking do it because it's our money and our weapons and we're not going to fucking replenish that and we're not going to let you start a massive catastrophe in the Middle East. Okay? The same guy who was wrong about everything when it came to the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war is now lecturing us on how it's going to go on war with Iran. No, how about you go to shut the fuck upsville? Okay? That's what you need to do. So Obama's right, calmly dismantling Trump, breaking his silence here. And as far as I'm concerned, he has a right to be a lot more arrogant on this point because Trump is the antithesis of everything Obama was, and Obama nailed it when it came to that issue utterly and completely.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all, so this right here is absolutely brutal. I mean, this is rough. Joe Rogan's own guest, who seemingly is like a right-leaning guy, he ends up exposing Joe for being a useful idiot to the Trump regime. This is tough to watch, and this is perfect timing for this video because, you know, literally yesterday we had Joe Rogan in a suit and tie in 95-degree weather at the catastrophe that was the fucking UFC fight on the White House lawn. Just total fucking desecration of the White House lawn. So here we go. Let's watch this and then we'll break it down.
I feel sometimes like, how did I get in this position? I know you do too. Like where you're at the White House, you're just like, how the could somebody like me earn this opportunity? Right. I know, like for me, I know they've used me there before. They invited me there for Veterans Day, and I said, no, I'm not going because I don't fucking agree with this war in Iran. I don't agree with all the shit. I don't want to go and have a picture in the fucking White House so people could be like, see, you're part of this. And Trump signed an executive order, something about public land. And all it was a pomp and circumstance photo op to get executive order. Nothing has happened to it. Nothing has happened with it. No action's been taken. It was like, all it was just they can make a press clipping out of it. A theater, and nothing's going to change.
Now, understand how important this is here, because this is a right-wing guy learning that, like, oh, I'm being used, and even his executive orders, if it's theoretically something positive, there's going to be no follow-through. They're not going to actually do anything. And it's interesting he brings this up, because he's saying, I was used for some executive order on, like, environmental issues or public lands, right? And nothing came of it, objectively. So he's saying they lied to me. But Joe also, he was just at the fucking White House for his, like, you know, a psychedelic drug executive order. Nothing's going to fucking come of that either. Nothing. So it's super important to understand this guy's basically putting Joe on game. Like, hey, bro, watch out. I see how you're moving in these streets. It's not going to go well.
Nothing changes. Nothing's protected. So that's what I feel like a lot of these times, if I get invited there, it's for that.
All right. So Joe Rogan recently had on Cameron Hanes, who's a longtime regular guest on his podcast. And now, like we see with more and more of Rogan's friends when they go on his show, Cameron kept bringing up stuff that can be applied to Joe, and I'm sure makes him uncomfortable, like how Trump invites people to the White House to gain favor with their audience, or he'll sign executive orders that he knows won't go anywhere, but he does as publicity stunts to get good PR. Like apparently he did with this one that was supposed to protect public land. He invited some environmentalists to the White House and signed an executive order, but then according to Cameron, who spoke to one of the influencers that was at the White House, nothing ever happened with it.
Now, by the way, it's actually way worse than that, right? Because not only did nothing happen with like this pro-environmentalist, pro-public land executive order, it's actually the opposite. He's opening up all this public land to like fucking oil drilling and fracking and getting rid of all the rules and regulations around clean water and clean air. They've like rolled back 57 different environmental protections. Like they actually tried to block the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, from being able to do any environmental protection. Never mind remember the stuff on glyphosate. You had RFK Jr., who used to be in court suing over glyphosate, saying this shit causes cancer. Trump gets in there and Trump says, we're going to roll back all the regulations on glyphosate and fucking double down on that bitch and give everybody cancer. And RFK tucks his tail between his legs. Oh, yes, sir. I'll be your little cuckboy, sir. Whatever you say, sir. Like, this is where we're at. And so they've destroyed the administrative state. They've destroyed the regulatory state. They're increasing pollution. They're like every single positive thing the government does, they've killed it, right? Pediatric cancer research, cut that back. Meals on Wheels, cut that back. Scientific research, medical research, cut that shit back, right? Anything good. Medicaid, kick 18 million people off Medicaid. No more healthcare for you. Anything good, they've destroyed. And the only shit they ramp up is the bad shit. $1.5 trillion for the military-industrial complex to bomb more schools in Iran. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? And so it's worse than just this. It's worse than, oh, he had me to sign this thing and then nothing came of it. Yeah, and also, he's doing the opposite. He's destroying the environment utterly, day after day.
And Trump continues to sell public land, which is what got Cam to turn on him. Like, he voted for Trump, but now he seems to be really upset about that. And, of course, the usual stuff like the Epstein files and the Iran war. But now he feels like since there's so much to worry about, protecting public land is like the least talked about concern. So he's starting to feel hopeless. Like in the beginning of the podcast, he talks about how you can get into a negative headspace very easily. And then Rogan starts going off about the Epstein files and Charlie Kirk's assassination. So he's like, see, that's what I'm talking about. And this clip has been getting a lot of attention because for a split second, it sounds like Rogan is fed up with Trump and all his nonsense. But then later in the podcast, he spends a couple minutes glazing him. Also, I think Rogan might be kind of scared of upsetting Trump because if he's actually questioning Charlie Kirk's assassination, then I'm sure he thinks he could be next. Like Theo Vaughn was really paranoid about that too. And Rogan is really nervous about going to that UFC White House card. Also recently, it was revealed a few months before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, Trump called him and lost his shit on him for talking about the Epstein files.
He berated him. Charlie Kirk was berated by Donald Trump just before he was killed. Interesting. By the way, I was wrong. I said they rolled back 57 different environmental protections. I was wrong. What happened was they rolled back 112 environmental protections. They deregulated chemicals and water and air. Okay. They got rid of routine food safety inspections, so our food is less safe. They mass fired nuclear safety officials. They cut medical research, scientific research, cancer research. The number 57, you know where that comes from? They deregulated deli meat, and that led to 9 people being killed, including 57 being hospitalized. That's where 57 came from. That was in my brain. But no, it's 112 environmental protections rolled back. This is who you're in bed with, Joe. Congratulations on that, bud. Hope you're doing well.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Rogan's kind of worried about rocking the boat. But we do see here that he gets pretty worked up about this stuff if he thinks about it. Or maybe this is him just acting, but it seems like he tries to avoid going into stuff too much because it freaks him out, especially being so close to it all and being one of the most influential people that still is somewhat backing Trump. So he might be nervous about stepping out of line because it sounds like he could just go off about this stuff, but he never really does. And we already know that Trump publicly snapped at Joe before the 2024 election because Joe originally endorsed RFK Jr., and then Trump made a post basically encouraging UFC fans to boo him at the next UFC event. And then Joe walked back his endorsement and obviously ended up platforming and endorsing Trump.
Got cucked so hard.
So I think Trump tries to get people in line through intimidation, and Rogan's too big of a coward to really turn on him and go off about this stuff, which it sounds like he could rant about all day. But
he's literally in the club, bro. He's in the club. Like people don't get this. He texts with the president of the United States. He texts with Donald Trump. He also does phone calls with him from time to time. I'm not kidding. He talks to J.D. Vance on a regular basis. J.D. Vance said recently, like, oh, I'm going to text Joe about this. When Joe said there's a bunch of dorks in MAGA. J.D. Vance did an interview. He said, I'll text Joe after this about this. So, like, he's one of them. Never mind his buddy-buddy relationship with Elon Musk and Mark Andreessen and all these fucking billionaire Epstein-class freaks. He's one of them.
You know, I can go down a negative rabbit hole pretty easy. I try to avoid wading in that.
Well, sometimes it's like you just get fed up. You're like, where the fuck are these Epstein files?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this? Why is this redacted? Where is it? Who the fuck killed JFK?
Right.
Like, come out with it. What the fuck? Who fucking killed Charlie Kirk for real?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Why is that fucking story so clouded in mystery? And why did they pave over the fucking ground right after the shooting? What the fuck is going on there?
See, now you're making me in a bad mood.
It's easy to do. It's easy to do. It's easy to get locked up in there.
Do you see my notes? Look at my two on the very top.
What does it say? Stay positive?
If you start mentioning those things that you just did,
oh, it's hard.
Dude, I will fucking lose my shit.
Yeah,
because I'm so pissed.
I know. And it should be. And
also,
we're all pissed.
Well,
we all thought that, all that stuff was going to be released right after the election. We're going to drain the swamp and find all the pedophiles. And it would have been a whole lot different, first of all, if we didn't bomb Iran. I feel like we bombed them the first time. We were good.
This is cope. This is such cope. Oh, yeah, everybody would be pro-Trump if we didn't bomb Iran. He still would be hiding the motherfucking Epstein files, Joe. He would still be hiding the Epstein files. What are you talking about? He would also still be cutting taxes for the billionaires and raising taxes on working people and kicking 18 million people off Medicaid. He would still suck donkey balls, you bitch.
Second time when we bombed him, I was like, oh, fucking great. Now, and that all the people I know that really support Israel above everything else, they're fucking super happy about it. And I'm like, but all the people I know that are like America first, or people that are like no new wars, that really thought that we're going to change things, and this is all just for money, we're not going to sacrifice soldiers for fucking money, those people are all upset.
So then Cam starts complaining about Trump and not caring about preserving public land. And Rogan brings up how issues like that don't get enough attention because the government distracts people with so much other bullshit. Like now UFO and alien disclosure is the new big one, which Rogan makes fun of here, but he entertains it and has had on politicians who are trying to make a big deal about it.
Yeah, you're the one, Joe, who's distracting people. You've invited on multiple guests. Anna Paulina Luna, that bitch, Tim Burchett. You've had on these Republican politicians to throw fucking softballs down the center of the plate where they go, oh, we got some big disclosures here. Look at this alien stuff. Definitely look over here. Don't look at the Epstein files. Don't look at the Iran war. Don't look at the endless corruption and the 78 different scandals and the fucking crypto coin where we're robbing our own supporters. Don't look at any of that. Look at the aliens. You idiots like this shit, right? I'll feed you this slop all day if you want. You're the one who did it, Joe. You're the one who did it. Oh, my God.
During the middle of all the Epstein files fallout, Rogan had on this congresswoman to talk about UFOs, and it was like the most boring episode ever, and it was such an obvious psyop to distract from the Epstein files. But of course, Rogan played along with it, even though I don't think people even really give a shit about it anymore. I mean, it seems like every day now, the government tries to release some new evidence of UFOs or UAPs, and they send out all these politicians and preachers to try to promote it and make a big deal about it. But it seems like people couldn't care less. It's hilarious. Like, nobody seems to give a shit about it anymore. I mean, it's like old news after a day. So they just keep throwing out every distraction they can. So it's like a cat and mouse game. Whenever you're getting somewhere with one issue, then another one comes along and another one, and then there's just too much to focus on. And it seems like that's how Cam feels about the public land issue. Now that's at like the bottom of the list, which means it's probably a good time for Trump to capitalize on it.
Trump's like his errand boy for this public land thing because Trump doesn't give a fuck about public land.
But his son does. This is what doesn't make any sense. Like his Donald Trump Jr.
Does he listen to anybody?
I don't know.
I don't
he
think so.
He listened to me about psychedelics.
Well, okay. We'll talk to him about this thing.
Is that again with sneaky roadless rule amendment?
I love the idea that Trump's going, I would do this, but I don't want to hurt my son Don's feelings. He hates that motherfucker. I hate that motherfucker. The most relatable thing about Donald J. Trump is how much he hates his shitty ass kids. Okay? Let's be serious. Don Jr. was a mistake. People go after Hunter Biden for being an addict. The amount of cocaine Don Jr. has done over the years probably dwarfs the crack cocaine that Hunter Biden did. Okay? This motherfucker is on videotape with a little baggie and shit. You have got to be kidding me, bro. Like, there's no shot. I mean, he didn't even go to his fucking son's wedding. And I'm supposed to believe he's going to go, oh, but wait a second. I actually care about what my son thinks, so maybe I will protect the public lands. No, he's corrupt. He's bought by the billionaires and bought by big business, and big business wants access to that shit, and so they're going to stop at nothing to get it. And by the way, we all know what's going on here. Here, look at the UFO shit. The whole point of that is so that you don't go down the rabbit hole and you don't learn about the Trump Princess Riverboat Casino in Lake Michigan and what allegedly happened with that and what they used it for, okay? You don't learn about a girl named Dusty who in the year 2000 was found with her head blown off. She's a little Oklahoma girl. She was found with her head blown off, and, the cops think there's no way it was a suicide. Or how about the Katie Johnson lawsuit, where in 2016, there's a video of Katie Johnson, who that's an alias, by the way. It's a fake name because she's trying to protect herself and thinks she might be in danger, right? But she says in 1994, Epstein and Trump both allegedly raped her when she was 13. This is why, look over here. Don't look at this. This is what's going on. Everybody knows that's what's going on, except Joe Rogan, who fucking feeds into it and is their little bitch boy.
Well, maybe if I see him this weekend, I will see him this weekend, but maybe I'll talk to him about that.
Once you lose something, you don't get it back.
Ever.
And this, especially with this public land, like at this time when we all came together, it was outdoorsmen in all regards. It was hunting, hiking, fishing, whoever, recreators.
Yeah.
Like we all came together, shot it down. But when they do these, they wear us down with these last minute deals and add on these things, because it's like, how many things can you keep fighting and fighting and fighting? And you're like, I thought we already got this. Didn't we solve this already? And now it's back.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why they keep so many fucking balls in the air at the same time, is because you can't fight it all. It's like, do you really care about the Epstein files, or do you care about UFO disclosure?
Yeah, I know.
Ooh, the UAPs. We're going to have a big meeting on Monday. We're going to have a big release on Wednesday. Okay.
We can distract some of them with aliens. Got any alien stuff? All right. Okay. Oh, we could distract some of them with fighting. We got the White House fight coming up. Okay. And now all of a sudden it's way quieter because they've distracted some of these core groups with this other bullshit, right? And it's the bread and circus thing. And like, I kind of agree with Bryce Mitchell, who said this, that it's not for the White House to be putting on sporting events. That's not. We hire the government to run our country, not entertain us.
True. Yeah. No. I don't like it because I think they should be fighting indoors always.
So I guess Joe felt like they're going too hard on Trump, so he had to start glazing him and talking about how much he loves America. It's so funny, after Joe flips out about the Epstein files and Charlie Kirk's assassination and Cam complains about what Trump is doing to public land, Joe's just like, but don't worry, Trump's fun to hang out with and he cares about this country. Also, the other day, he was defending Trump after he was booed at the NBA Finals game he went to, because people accused him of being booed at the last UFC event as well. So Joe felt the need to respond to those rumors and let people know he's never been booed at a UFC event. Even though apparently that's not even true, because somebody dug up an old clip from Rogan's podcast from years ago where he's talking about Trump being booed at a UFC event, which Rogan probably just forgot about, hopefully, but it's just embarrassing either way. That he feels the need to defend Trump like this and claim he's never been booed and UFC fans have always loved him, when Joe has admitted in the past to being at a UFC event and hearing fans boo him like crazy.
People say he got booed at the UFC. I've seen him at the UFC 6 times or something like that. I don't know how many times. Never get booed.
They love him.
He's never gotten booed. They fucking cheer. The people that say they booing him, you're distorting reality. It's not true. They cheer him like he walks in there to the American Badass song. It's like, this is ridiculous. They always cheered him. They booed the fuck out of him at the UFC.
Oh, were you there?
Yeah.
Oh, because I heard from one camp that they cheered, and from another camp that his son said they cheered for him.
Listen to Daddy. I took my fucking headphones off just to listen, and it was whoa, whoa.
Really?
Yeah, man. 18,000 people going. Whoa.
His son said they were chanting USA.
Maybe 4 people behind him were chanting USA.
The rest were saying Boo SA.
Yeah. Is that what Donald Jr. said?
Yeah, that's Donald Jr.
Listen,
was
if that
very
was your dad,
upset.
It's gonna be. You're at the White House all the time now.
I've been there a couple times. Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. It's also very weird because as much as people hate Trump and hate his decisions and hate what he's doing and hate how he talks, and my experiences with him personally have always been fun, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for everybody else. Like, if he likes you and you're on his good side, he's a fun guy to be around.
Yeah.
Well, Hitler liked dogs. This guy's good to pets. He's got some pets he's nice to and stuff, bro. He loves his kids. Well, actually, in this instance, Trump doesn't. So that one doesn't count. He's nice to me and stuff. Yeah. You're a multi-hundred millionaire with one of the top podcasts in the world. I would think he's going to be nice to you, given that for him to continue to exert the power and control and dominance that he wants, he needs people like you to be his propagandist, which is exactly what the fuck you're doing right now, Joe. You're doing the thing. This is why he's nice to you. This thing you're doing right now, you're doing it. Now, meanwhile, what happened, Joe? I thought you're objective. I thought you tried to tell the truth. I thought you're, Mr. Honest, Mr. Average Joe's just an honest guy. Well, if you were, you would be telling people about the hundreds of millions of dollars in insider trading that he's engaged in. Way more than Nancy Pelosi, way more than the Bidens. I don't want to hear shit about them ever again from you in particular, okay? You should be telling people about the fucking attempt to sue his own IRS to get a $1.778 billion fund to pay off insurrectionists and terrorists and his own family members, which they had to back off of because it was a little too illegal and they would have got caught red fucking handed. Now he's going to try a different way to do that. But what about the crypto scam he ran on his people and Melania's crypto scam that she ran on the same people and the golf course in Qatar and the $400 million plane from Qatar and the hotel in Dubai and the Bitcoin mining operation and the fucking executive branch club where they get $500,000 to become part of the pay-to-play thing, or the pay-to-play pardons that they do. You give him $1 million in Mar-a-Lago, he'll pardon whoever the fuck you want, and he's pardoned like dozens of fraudsters. You got nothing to say about any of this. Nothing. But you'll talk about Nancy Pelosi for the 78th fucking time. Spare me, man. I can't fucking deal with it. He's so dishonest. I mean, this is a family that stole from a children's cancer charity in New York. To this day, they're not allowed to operate a charity in the state of New York. And Joe Rogan is still running cover for them. He's running cover for a pedophile in the Epstein files who's covering up child sex trafficking. He's running cover for a guy who's waging an illegal war against Iran when he ran on no new wars. And I'm supposed to take you seriously? No, you're compromised, Joe. You're compromised.
The fucking man loves America. He genuinely does.
He loves looting America. That's what he loves.
He really does. Like, he wants to make the White House look better. He wants to build this ballroom because he has good intentions in terms of America.
He's so cooked. He's so done. When you, by comparison, make Tim Dillon and Andrew Schultz look like fucking honest, oh man.
There's not a single fucking person that's ever taken the job of the president of the United States that's loved by everybody.
Some people love you. Some people hate you. Some people overlook that he's a pedophile. Some people like the fact that he's a pedophile. Some people overlook the fact that he bombs little girls' schools. Some people like that fact. What are you doing? What? Oh my God.
The issues that he's having right now is a lot of the stuff that is going on in this country is contrary to what people voted for. And that's what people are upset about.
And I think Cam might have mentioned Rogan always being at the White House almost as a slight dig at him, because then Cam kept talking about how he gets invited and turns it down because he feels like they're just trying to use him for publicity stunts and positive PR. So he doesn't go anymore because also he doesn't want to be associated with Trump, which he's probably bringing up to Rogan to try to convince him that he's being invited there for the same reason. And Cam probably thinks Rogan is helping the administration too much and might be even losing respect for him because of it. It's almost like he wants to just say, dude, what are you doing going there and letting them use you and your platform like that? But he obviously doesn't want to be too disrespectful to Joe. Also, Joe obviously knows at this point that he's just a useful idiot to them. But Trump always manages to lure him back in, like with the UFC and signing that executive order for Ibogaine, which I think Cam might believe was just a PR stunt to get Rogan at the White House to take pictures with Trump, which I'll get to after this clip.
I feel sometimes like, how did I get in this position? I know you do too. Like, where you're at the White House, you're just like, how the fuck could somebody like me earn this opportunity? Right? You've earned it through decades and decades of work, of being curious, of being fair, of being positive, of caring. And now people want to come on and share their thoughts with you. That gives you a platform. You've the most powerful voice probably in the world at sometimes. And so you get invited to the White House. And I know, like for me, I know they've used me there before. Like, yeah, I created value in myself. They invited me there for Veterans Day, and I said, no, I'm not going because I don't fucking agree with this war in Iran. I don't agree with all this shit. I don't want to go and have a picture in the fucking White House so people could be like, see, you're part of this. You know, because we thought that Trump was the best option at the last election. I 100% believed he was better.
The thing is, he might still have been the best option.
He might.
Oh no. There is a 0% chance that Kamala Harris would have blown up random dinghy fishing boats in the Pacific and the Caribbean, which Trump has now done dozens of times, hundreds of times, killed at least 200 people doing that. There is a 0% chance Kamala Harris would have carpet bombed little girl schools in Iran. Zero. There's a 0% chance Kamala Harris would have done a crypto scam coin rug pull on her own fucking supporters. 0% chance. Don't give me this false equivalence bullshit. And in this case, it's not even false equivalence. He's flat out saying Trump might still have been the better option. There's no fucking planet where Donald Trump was the better option over Kamala Harris. If you believe that, your brain is motherfucking figgy pudding. Let's be serious. A little bit too much TRT, a little bit too many steroids, and a little bit too much alpha brain, and now all of a sudden, you're the world's dumbest man. Because this is completely and utterly unacceptable. Spare me. Or say the real thing. Say what you actually think. Black woman, not comfortable with the whole black woman thing. Because that's probably what they're actually feeling, right? Oh, you're going to let the black woman run shit? Yeah, no, let's go with the fat pedophile, rapist, war criminal. I'm sure he'll be better. Yeah, the guy born with a silver spoon in his mouth worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That guy who's been a fucking asshole his entire life, who failed up his entire life. That douchebag, yeah, let's go with him.
But and that's fine.
We don't know what would have happened if the Kamala Harris administration had been a continuation of the Biden administration.
Now I don't like any of this shit. So I have my right is to say, no, I'm not down with this.
Right.
And I'm not going to I'm not going to be in your picture at the fucking White House so you can use it. And all the people who listen to me would be like, oh, they can use people like us for their messaging. And then they invited me back again. After now, I've been pretty critical of this administration just because I care. And
what'd they invite you back again for?
This was back. It was for a public land thing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down for it, but I just know I had this kid on Benji Backer.
So then Cam brought up how he did a podcast with this environmentalist, Benji Backer, who got Trump to sign an executive order to preserve public land. And he was invited to the White House. And there are these articles written about it, about how Trump signed a pro-environment executive order. And Benji sounded really excited about it. But then Cam claims it ended up just being a bullshit PR stunt and nothing ever happened with it, which I think he might be bringing up here because obviously Rogan did something similar.
Understand something, guys. The difference between, say Andrew Schultz or Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan, the only major difference is that Andrew Schultz and Tim Dillon are not still in regular contact with the regime, right? There was a time where Tim Dillon would talk to J.D. Vance. He doesn't anymore. That's over. It's done. Because he's very harshly criticized them. That relationship's ruined, right? So that's why they're more free to go out there and say, look, here's the deal. This is what they're doing. This is how fucked up it is. This is how much they're fucking frauds. Whereas Rogan still texts with Trump, still texts with J.D. Vance, right? Still talks to Elon Musk and is friends with Elon Musk, still talks to Andreessen and has a fucking Epstein-class billionaire on seemingly every other week. So he's still in that club. And so that's why you see, still getting invited to the White House and shit. So that's why you see he can't tell the truth. He's incapable of telling the truth. So understand that. He's fucking compromised. And one of the biggest lessons for people who are in this sort of like new media space is don't ever get too close with these motherfuckers, right? Because you have to be able to tell the truth. You have to be able to tell the truth about them. And obviously it's harder the closer you are with them. So if you ever feel like, man, is my integrity getting, messed with here? Distance. Got to distance yourself. And he can't do it. Rogan can't do it. Turns out he always wanted to be in the club, even though he pretend like, I'm the outsider. No, you're a motherfucking insider if I've ever seen one, and now you're deep inside that club, and nobody should take you seriously. All right, guys, that's the show, man. I love y'all very much. As always, you know the drill. Everybody do me a favor. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every time a video drops. You can support the show on Patreon, sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack, and of course, you can sub to Corrin's World on YouTube. And that's all I got for you, man. I love you guys, and I'll see you here tomorrow. Peace.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.